I would have rather been prepared before, like I asked him. Do you have your laptop? Do it there, and then you could do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can wear
Thank
this
you.
for her.
Thank you, Ray.
Wouldn't it be funny if I said no?
A little tight, a little snug in the.
Is your daughter not here?
She's not. She'd
Aw.
rather go to cheer.
She what?
She'd rather go to cheer practice.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Let me just check the live stream. I'm just checking the live stream first. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. I hereby announce that pursuant to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, the adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in the notice which was sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and posted on the bulletin board in Township Hall and filed in the Township Clerk's office on January 6th, 2026. Mayor Impreviduto?
Here.
Mr. Foster?
Here.
Mr. Bontempo?
Here.
Mr. Romano?
Here.
Mr. Vanderham?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Wendy. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Moment of silence, please, for our men and women in uniform at home and abroad that keep us safe every day. Thank you. All right, so we're going to start with a proclamation for the 5th and 6th grade girls lacrosse team. Welcome. Whereas the Holmdel 5th and 6th grade girls lacrosse team demonstrated exceptional talent, teamwork, dedication, and sportsmanship throughout the 2026 spring season, and whereas the team completed a remarkable undefeated regular season with an overall record of 8-0, including a 4-0 conference record, while outscoring their opponents by an impressive 103-39 margin. And whereas the team captured the conference championship with a decisive 12-7 victory over Red Bank and earned an additional championship by winning the Jersey Girls Tournament. And whereas the players were led, supported, and encouraged in their endeavors and successes by coaches Raymond Kim and Jody Parati. And whereas this championship team exemplified the very best of community athletics, bringing together players who were experiencing lacrosse for the first time, alongside teammates who developed their skills through Holmdel's youth lacrosse clinics, proving that hard work, commitment, and teamwork can achieve extraordinary results. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and Township Committee of the Township of Holmdel on this 11th day of August 2026 that congratulations be extended to the following: Alexandra Millardi, Avery Hofstale, Charlotte Schambach, Charlotte Kim, Elizabeth Ustinova, Everly White, Giuseppina Rizzo, Jordana Pizzuto, Julia Vanderham, Kira Zizzo, Madison DeFelice, Maggie McCall, Millie Keeley, Nawal Nabelsi, Reese Powers, Riley Smith, Sarah Chater, Victoria Parati, Violet Ryanson, and Mackenzie White. Be it further resolved that a suitably engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to the team as a small token of the esteem in which they are held, and that all best wishes be extended to all for continued success in all their future endeavors. Congratulations, girls. Let's come on up.
I need that one back. They took them all. But he's going to give them to her.
All right, so let's move on to a presentation from Kramer Engineering. Chris, do you want to speak to this and we'll get it rolling?
Yes, Mayor. So a few months ago, I was tasked with putting together a plan for the lack of courtesy busing, and we have to have in the areas that are able to be walked on, we have to make sure we have crossing guards there. So what we did was we brought on one of our consulting engineers from Kramer Engineering, actually Dave Kramer himself, and he's put together a report. He's going to present it to the committee tonight. So Dave, if you want to come up to here and sit. He's going to just go over quickly what we have. He did a full report on it, and there's some improvements that we'll make that we can do this year when it comes to crosswalks, and it kind of goes to later in the agenda the company we're going to hire for crossing guards that we went out to bid for. So.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Township Committee. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. For the record, David Kramer, 119 Avenue of the Commons in Shrewsbury, New Jersey.
Thank you. So do you want to walk through your report, David?
Of course. Are you able to pick this up okay?
On, and then maybe talk a little closer, because I don't think they can hear you in the back.
I've already gotten in trouble, and that's okay. So, Mayor and members of the committee, I was asked by the administrator to examine the portions of the township where walking to school is likely to be expected, and those areas are guided by the statute. New Jersey law suggests that any areas within 2 miles of a primary school or 2.5 miles of a secondary school, municipalities don't have to provide the busing, and it's expected that children may walk there. So step one in the report that you have in front of you was to delineate those, you'll see them termed in the report as encatchment areas. And those areas were defined as any roadway in the township that along the center line, along a walking route, a walking path, would be within 2 miles of the village school or the Indian Hill School, or 2.5 miles of the SATS or the high school campus. Once we delineated those encatchment areas, and if you refer to the end of the reports, that's where the excitement is. In the appendix, there's a map for each one of those encatchment areas. Once we identified those areas, we then examined all the streets in that area to see where it was very likely that pedestrian traffic would emanate, where it would be safe to do so, and those factors were determined by things like the presence of sidewalks on one or both sides of the street, whether there was good pedestrian visibility to traffic, whether there were sidewalks on the collector streets, and whether there was safe areas along the roadside, graded areas, turf where it might be safe to walk there. What we found was roughly 50 to 60% of the total encatchment area, or that area strictly defined within 2 miles of the primary schools, had sufficient pedestrian facilities where it would be expected that children may walk from those areas to school. In consultation with the Township Police, Traffic Safety Division, and the Department of Public Works, we then looked closely at those areas, examined the evidence that we had in terms of where the sidewalks were, where existing crossings are located, and we made a determination of where the most likely spots or the best locations would be for the posting of crossing guards to make sure that the kids could safely walk to school. And in the for the Indian Hill or the village school, for example, there were 4 locations where we suggested that crossing guards be stationed. A couple of them, many of them actually were locations where there was a crossing guard today in front of the school, for example. Other locations where we would have to install new signage, striping, which DPW has indicated a willingness to do and the ability to do so. In locations where there's not a crossing guard right now, or there's not a pedestrian crossing, we'd have to install high visibility crosswalks, school crossing signage, and ensure that there's plenty of visibility. there were a couple of locations throughout the township where we actually felt as though some heightened presence by the police department may be warranted. An example of that on Takalusa, where there are sight distance challenges both horizontally and vertically to the approach roadways there. And instead of just putting a crossing guard and signs up, we felt it might be better to put a variable message sign before school starts to let traffic know, to let users of the roadways know that in the next week or so, the next couple of weeks, there'll be a crossing guard at this location. So again, we examined each one of the school campuses separately, identified the locations where the crossing guards ought to be located, and that was done based on our findings, our technical findings, combined with the traffic safety division's, insight of the township and their direct knowledge of the properties of the township and how it works. We conveyed that information to the administrator, who then assembled a quote or a request for quotations for those crossing guard services. The way we assembled our report, we captured a lot of data. We used aerial imagery from Near Maps, which is a service that was updated as recent as July of this year, so that we could cover a very large portion of the township easily. We then supplemented that with on-the-ground inspection, where we actually examined every one of the roadways in the areas where we felt as though kids were going to walk. And we assembled our report in such a manner that this data can be used again in the future, by myself or others, to do things like plan pedestrian improvements in the future, seek grant monies. So we captured a lot of data. I included it all in our report so that we can move this forward and eventually, like I said, seek grant monies under Safe Routes to Schools, for example, to increase where the sidewalks are today, increase some other pedestrian connectivity. And with that, Mayor, I will answer any questions the committee or the public may have.
So,
if you'd like to go through each location where we suggested crossings, that's fine too.
Well, I think I would start with just looking at all the sort of pink dots along the, actually, let me just take a pause for a moment. Chris, just to be clear, this is going to be up on the website and out to the public tomorrow or end of this week? When we?
It'll be up tomorrow. It came in late today for me to put it up, and well, I don't put it up, but somebody in my office will have it up by tomorrow.
Okay, so this will be out for everybody to see by tomorrow. How many locations are there overall throughout town that require, in your view, crossing guards? And what does that look like? Like, meaning, how long are they there in each location, and,
So there were a total of 10, I want to say.
It was 14 in the morning and 14 in the afternoon, but there was between all the schools. There were different times. We have them set for an hour, but a little before, a little bit after for late walkers. But we have each one of them set for an hour, and we're billed by the hour.
And when you were talking about certain areas that require additional police presence, what are the parameters, the criteria by which you make that recommendation?
So one example is Takalusa and Holland Road. That's a difficult intersection at best. And when we install school crossing signs and high visibility crosswalks, that's effective when vehicles are right there at the intersection. Approaching vehicles may not know there's a new crossing there. So I suggest that the police department look at placing a VMS or the variable message sign, and it'll say, a week or two ahead of time, new school crossing location or another message that they feel might be appropriate, just to give the users of the roadway, who frankly, it's probably going to be the same users every day. Those are within residential areas. There's not a lot of new traffic on a daily basis there. So they're going to have to get accustomed to the fact that now there's going to be a school crossing at this location. The last thing we would want to do, Mayor, is surprise a motorist with a condition that they didn't expect. We want to make sure that everybody remains safe, of course.
And how are if you can go into a little bit more detail on how each of the sections were identified. I know we're talking about a 2.5 mile radius depending on the school. What criteria is used to identify an area in need, more specifically?
Okay, so specifically referring to Appendix A, which would be the first map in the report, you'll see that there is an overall area that's pink or purple in color shaded. That is the area that's within 2 miles, for example, of the village school. The area that you see that's blue shading on here, but it'll be green when you look at the PDF, that is the area where there is sufficient pedestrian facilities, in our opinion, that it's reasonably expected that kids will walk from there and access the school. Now, that criteria is based on factors including but not necessarily limited to the presence of sidewalks on one side of the street or another on a local roadway. On a collector roadway, sidewalks are absolutely necessary. We wouldn't recommend that we bring kids from a neighborhood to walk to the school, for example, on Crawford's Corner Road or Holmdel Road, if there weren't sidewalks on that roadway. In a self-contained neighborhood, Ely Road and Winding Brook Way, for example, self-contained, the traffic that's in that neighborhood emanates from the neighborhood. There's not sidewalks in there in that neighborhood. However, I feel like if somebody could safely walk to the intersection to get to Main Street, for example, to get to the village school. So the absence of sidewalks wasn't necessarily an exclusionary criteria on the local roadways, on the self-contained neighborhoods. Once you get to a collector street, whether it be Crawford's Corner, Holmdel Road, absolutely, if we don't have sidewalks on those main roadways, then we wouldn't want to draw pedestrian traffic to it. Based on those criteria, and instill with that factors like if the roadside is level and safe to walk, if it's not wooded, if there's good visibility for traffic to see pedestrians walking on the side of the road, whether the road is wide enough for cars to pass and a pedestrian to still remain safe. Those are all the factors that went into examining exactly where we expected the pedestrian traffic to emanate from and where crossing guards would reasonably be necessary to ensure their safety.
And in addition to the recommendations in terms of locations for crossing guards, you've also made recommendations on improved striping and things of that nature.
Yeah, so use Crawford's Corner Road as a great example. That roadway was resurfaced about a year ago, improved about a year ago. There are crossings in front of the high school and the SATS campus, and there's another crossing down by Roberts Road. Those are pedestrian crossings, and they're well signed, and they did a very good job constructing it. Those are locations where we feel that a crossing guard is now going to be needed or warranted as part of this effort. So we would want to change those signs from the pedestrian, and it sounds this sounds a little nutty, but change the signs from a pedestrian crossing to a school crossing. The pedestrian crossing signs are the diamond shape, and they show the person walking. Those are under the MUTCD. They're for pedestrian crossings. Where there's a school crossing, it's a different shape. It's not the diamond. It's actually a home plate shaped sign, and it shows school children crossing with books in their hand. So any place where we're going to post a crossing guard or make any improvements or alterations to the traffic, we need to be in strict conformance with the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control, and you'll hear us refer to the MUTCD. In that circumstance, we would want to have and change the signs to the S11s, which are the school crossing signs. And instead of just installing single crosswalk stripes, we would want to install what we refer to as high visibility crosswalks, or the crosswalks that are the ladder style, or the squares that go across the roadway. So there are a number of locations where there is a crossing. You'll also see, Mayor, on the maps and members of the committee, there are small circles around certain intersections within each area. That's intended for DPW to understand where there are locations, intersections, where we may not need a crossing guard or have a crossing guard, but the striping there, it's faded or otherwise in need of maintenance, so the DPW can use that as a guide when they go to do their routine maintenance. These are areas where new crosswalk stripes should be painted and new stop bars should be painted. So at the end of the day, any place where we're going to post a crossing guard has to be fully compliant with the MUTCD. There are two locations that are on 520, which we would necessarily have to have the County of Monmouth bless. We'd have to refer to this to the county engineer and make sure that Mr. Tour was satisfied with what we intend to do there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, members of the committee? Brian?
Thank you for, excuse me. Thank you for the report, Dave. When did the study take place? Like, when were you out there on site?
So we began the study, I want to say, around the first week of June. We met with the police department and DPW on 2 occasions here at Town Hall, and we issued our formal report yesterday.
Okay, so you were pretty much out there when schools were open in session and people were driving and stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we just got the report, so I just wanted to ask that. Thank you.
Fair question.
Greg?
Dave, the area in called light shade of pink, it says areas deemed not walkable. What does that mean? Does that mean that nobody lives there that's going to be walking to school, or you don't want people walking from those areas to school?
So, and that's a fair question. So what that means, and what we considered that in our report was, there's not a sidewalk present on the local streets nor on the collector streets. So we wouldn't expect that somebody who lives in the areas that are shaded in the pink to even attempt to walk to school, because even once they got off their local street where maybe they felt a little bit safer, once they got to the collector roadway, Crawford's Corner or Holmdel Road, there's not enough sidewalk, or there's no sidewalk, or they wouldn't feel safe to do so. So that's why we called it non-walkable.
Okay. And the other, just to kind of follow up, so you said, like, I think you used the example like Eli Road, there's kind of side roads that kind of feed right onto
Yes.
a bigger road, and there's no sidewalks. I don't know the specific here, but the sidewalks there.
Yes.
How do you, or how does the township manage in through the winter with snow, right? Because now you have children,
Yes.
right, potentially walking in a street with cars, with ice and snow,
Right.
also on the road with them. Is that kind of walk me through, because that's a concern of mine. My children aren't
Sure.
that young anymore, but that would be on the top of my mind. Like, my daughter's walking half a mile.
Right.
Do I need to worry about that? And does she have a safe passage?
And listen, that's a great question, and that's something that has to be considered. So DPW will have to be mindful of those areas, and they can use this as a guide to them to understand those streets where they have to pay a little bit more attention to how close to the edge of the roadway they're getting when they snowplow, and perhaps even clearing some of the area behind the curb line to ensure that there's a safe place for kids to walk.
So I want to just touch on that as well. So we, as I think I've spoke to a couple of the committee members on the side with this, we have sidewalks that we're going to be responsible for. DPW, we're planning ahead with that right now, and we're hoping to get added to our contractor assignment that they're going to go out on the ones that we're responsible for to make sure that those sidewalks are clear after a storm. But we're also going to have code enforcement be more proactive after a storm. And homeowners who are responsible, if you have a sidewalk in front of your house, you are, or on the side of your house, you are, they'll have to clear their sidewalks because we now became a walking town. So sidewalks in front of your home are the homeowner's responsibility.
What about the side streets that don't have sidewalks, that are safe to walk but don't have sidewalks? How will we monitor that so it's safe for children?
We're going to make sure that DPW cuts back as far as they can to keep them as wide as they can, whether it's marking them ahead of time so they know how far back they can get to the side of the road. But they'll have to get closer. They can't just leave those short roads or those narrow roads anymore. That just can't happen. And it's just going to be a little bit of a different way of doing things.
Dave, I guess with this also, if somebody, I was talking exactly, somebody new moves into town, right, in an area where we don't see anybody walking today, but school starts in a couple weeks, somebody comes in, you'll be able to adjust accordingly and maybe add head count because we have a new walking area, or does this cover every possible walking route with the plan today, even if somebody new comes into town?
That's another great question. So we didn't design our study based on where we knew walkers lived or where we expected. We designed our study to assess objectively the physical conditions of the roadway network. And by the way, I failed to mention, when you look at the mapping at quick glance, you'll see that some of the roads have a red line down the middle of them and others are shaded yellow. The red means there's no sidewalks on either side. The yellow means there's a sidewalk on either one side or the other. So you can look very quickly at each map and see where there are sidewalks and where there are not sidewalks. So to answer your question, we use the physical properties of the roadway as our guide. And it was not necessarily where we knew somebody lived that would walk, but where it may be reasonably expected that the conditions that exist are favorable to somebody walking to school from there.
So even if the complexion of the town changes and we have high turnover, right, new people coming, this will still be an accurate representation of where we need crossing guards, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, take it a step further. As the demographic changes, as there's turnover, if areas become saturated with families that were empty nesters before, that may be an indicator of where the township should focus its efforts in terms of installing new sidewalks or pursuing grant monies or undertaking capital initiatives to extend the sidewalk network to those areas where the need genuinely is.
And was part of your report recommendations of saying in the future you may want to look at these areas for sidewalks?
No, so my report was strictly limited to where do we think people may walk to school from and where should we place crossing guards to address that need. But I did set up my report so they could be brought forward in the future to do exactly that. You're welcome.
Anybody else on the committee?
Chris, you mentioned code enforcement on shoveling. Is it possible that we can look into like a notification in late fall to residents that are going to be in an area where there's going to be walkers, so they're aware that they have to be prompted to shovel their drive or the sidewalks?
Yeah, that we can absolutely send that out. We can actually send out the sitting ordinance that we have now that's been there, and just explain to people that it's different now. It's not that we can just overlook it anymore. It's going to have to be enforced only because of the walkers.
Yeah.
And to add to that, now we have a quantifiable list of those properties where we can send those code reds or whatever service that we subscribe to here in Holmdel, so we can target that message so it's not simply broadcast to everybody in the township and disregarded.
Yeah.
Thank you. If there's no other questions from the committee, I think we can let Mr. Kramer go, and we'll have everything posted tomorrow for the public to see. So, thank you.
Thank you. Good night, Mayor.
Nate, we'll wait till public comment before we... Chris, before we get into the consent agenda, you want to speak to it a little bit? And then we'll get into public comments on agenda items?
Okay, so we're just going to go down quickly. We're going to start at 71. The rest of them prior to that are either the bills list or property tax for veterans or disabled vets. Appointing full-time mechanic in public works. We have a 30-year employee who is retiring, and he's on August 1st. He'll be replaced by a new mechanic to backfill that. Award of contract for L&L paving for Ely Road or Eli Road. So I've heard it so many different ways. That is our problem road right now that we have. We actually had it investigated. Kramer Engineering actually did the work on that one. And the belief is actually there's soil problems under the roadway. L&L came in and gave us the lowest price to do the correction to it. So we're gonna hope to get those repairs done. The part of it's gonna be though that we're gonna base pave it. It'll still be on the highest point, but it's gonna be a base pavement on it for up to 8 to 12 months, so we can make sure it settles. But the belief is that there's so much clay under that end of the roadway that it's like a sponge and it sinks over time with the heavy trucks. So we're trying to stop that, and once that's all solved with the new drainage we're gonna put in, we shouldn't have any breaking of the roadway. Award a contract to the school crossing guards. Awarding a copier contract. Our copy machines and printers are up. We're going to be going from $1,700 a month to $1,300 a month. We tightened our belts a little bit, got rid of some of the printers, so we're trying to save a little money there. Shared service agreement with municipal court. That's an increase over a 5-year period. We really had a good contract before, almost like a steal at that point. But we're still going to be saving a significant amount of money keeping our court over there, and it'll be for the next 5 years. Appointing 2 people to our green team, new members. Sale of surplus equipment. This is just a regular thing we do if we have an old car. We did just get some new cars in. The electric cars did come in. So whatever is surplus, we have you guys do that and take care of it, and then we sell whatever we have left over. And then the final one, Michael, would be I think you. It wouldn't be me, or maybe Andy, but you could probably answer that the 4th round. The bona fide negotiations.
Sure, thanks, Chris. Absolutely. This dovetails with the ordinance that's on for introduction, Ordinance 2026-18. In the township's 4th round affordable housing plan is a proposed 100% affordable housing project on Block 59, Lots 6 and 7. It's the property on Route 35 behind the Kohl's building. In order to complete that 100% project, the township needs to acquire that parcel, so The resolution would allow the township committee to engage in good faith negotiations with the property owner to acquire it, and the ordinance would allow for the condemnation pursuant to the court order for the fourth round. The township is obligated to move ahead with this acquisition.
Thank you. And Chris, before we get to public comment on agenda items, I think after the public has a chance to review the documentation when we post it on the site for the work Kramer did, it'd probably be good to bring him back for the next meeting in case there's any direct questions based on the information provided.
Absolutely.
So with that, we'll move to public comment on agenda items only. Anybody that comes up has 3 minutes. Make your comment or ask your question, have a seat, and we'll answer.
And it's just on the consent agenda and the one ordinance for introduction. Anything on the hearings on ordinances, those will be separate public hearings after this.
Thank you, Mike. Francine.
Francine Campus, 2 Country Squire Lane. First, I want to just say, I know it's a dilemma that you have with this whole school busing, but everything I hear, first of all, I don't know how much you're going to save with all the all the stuff you have to do to make this work. And I'm just going to talk from 520 to work to Village School. And I don't have any kids in the school system. I don't have any relatives, so I'm not speaking with any favoritism. But 520 by the school, the speed limit is 45 miles an hour. That seems pretty fast, even with a crossing guard to stop traffic. And traffic there is horrendous as it is. I've seen with just a coffee shop opening across the way, accidents happen, people coming in and out and turning. The sidewalks that would take kids to Village School is the back of a lot of houses where they have fences up. Are you going to require these people to come out of their houses in a major snowstorm and go plow those sidewalks? I can tell you in the last snowstorms, those sidewalks were full of snow 3 and 4 feet high. And now let me tell you experience in my own house, okay? I live on a corner. I have a lot of walkway going on both sides. I had to get a snowblower because even to hire somebody, these people in storms are very busy. They're not going to come right away to clear your sidewalks. I clear my sidewalks, the plow comes and plows all the snow from the street back onto my sidewalk. In the storms, I pretty much had to have my sidewalks plowed 3 times, not because it snowed more, but because the plows came through. And I'm not complaining about the DPW. Okay, that's not. By the bus stop was a 4, almost this high. I couldn't see over the mound of snow. Do you think my snowplow is going to get through that? No way. Do you think a contractor's going to get? And I think what you're doing, where you said, let's identify the properties that have to comply with the ordinance, and I've always known Holmdel had an ordinance to clear your streets. You're shifting the burden onto homeowners in this town, which is unfair. And people like myself that have to hire contractors are at the mercy of contractors or go out there and have to plow to allow these kids. I don't know then between crossing guards that are going to cost a lot of money. This man that did the study, I'm sure, is costly. You're going to have to keep getting him back as the demographics of our town change. I'm a senior, an empty nester. If I sell my house, there's going to be a family there. Somebody needs to walk to Village School. So, I mean, I think we really ought to look at whether this is the right way to go. And I resent hearing that it's now going to be the homeowners that have to make sure their sidewalks are clear to let these kids walk. And if a kid slips on my sidewalk, who's going to be responsible? Me. I don't think that's fair. I know my 3 minutes are up. Thank you.
Thank you, Francine. So just to address the cost component, the cost of the crossing guards is less than a quarter of the cost of courtesy busing. Courtesy busing was $600,000 or so a year. I'd like to also remind everybody we gave the school district $1 million, and they chose not to renew courtesy busing with that $1 million. So we're reacting to the situation that we did not create. With that said, I think I'll anchor to Chris's point, and Chris, if you want to expound on it, you can. That the DPW is going to have to operate differently and think differently about how to address these matters and these areas to make sure that they're safe for walking. based on Mr. Kramer's own statement, he's not going to have to come back as demographics change. These are the areas which will hold, which are expected to require this type of service and crossing and so forth and so on. So just wanted to make sure I hit your points there, Francine. Chris?
And then the one thing, I understand you said DPW, so they are going to have to operate differently, and they will. They're going to have to go back and they're going to have to bring down those large piles. But this is something I understand. I've done it in other towns. I've come from a town prior to here, which was a total walking town, and DPW had to learn how to make sure that those areas were cleared. I know you said something about sidewalks that are along the back of houses. They are not homeowners' responsibility. Okay, so if a house backs up to a sidewalk, it's the town's responsibility, and we'll take care of that. It's only side and front.
Francine, I don't want to, if we can.
They won't
save it
do
for
that.
public-
We're gonna make sure that they don't do that. That's okay. But that's prior to this. We're gonna get ahead of that. So.
All right, okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Franco Rousseau, 177 Stillwell Road, the owner of Oak Hill Farm. I'd like to ask to have the 3-minute clock shut off, because I think my conversation is going to take longer than 3 minutes.
Is it related to an agenda item?
I've never been on your agenda, but you've spoken plenty of minutes about it.
It's not, if it's on the agenda, we're not taking any public comment until the end.
When you didn't put me on the agenda last meeting.
There's no reason for you to be on the agenda.
There isn't?
No.
But you wrote a nice little article today in the patch.
Yeah.
That,
So when it comes time for public comment, you can comment later. Right now, this is public comment for agenda items only.
okay. Why wasn't...
This is public comment for agenda items only.
It
This
is.
gonna be,
I
okay.
live on 16 Spring Valley Drive. I am a resident of the town. Why wasn't Mr. Kramer hired prior to you guys determining that school busing, should have been eliminated, and all the costs been presented and voted on prior to, sounds like you got a little bit of a problem with not only getting the kids to school safe, the areas where there are no sidewalks, the areas where we never had any crosswalks. It should have been planned out before, what's 1 more year or 2 more years.
Okay.
I'll be back though.
Yeah, I expect you to. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. The school board decided in the spring not to renew courtesy busing, and we're reacting to that situation. That's simple as it gets. We gave them $1 million. They chose not to spend the money on courtesy busing. So all that said, Chris, do we have an understanding of how many, what percentage of families sign up for subscription busing through the school district?
23%.
23% of the ones that were eligible signed up for subscription busing.
Out of the 700 and something students, only 23% signed up for it.
Okay, so that boxes with what we had heard from the school district as well, that that the routes exceeded the need, so to speak.
The buses were coming in empty, yes.
So any further questions related to that can be addressed at the school board. Anything else for agenda items? Peter?
Pete Franco, 5 Hopbrook Lane. This is about the kids walking to school. I'm probably going to get some slack for this, but I would like to suggest that every roadway that runs alongside a pathway to a kid to get to school be lowered to 25 miles an hour, or at least 25 miles an hour when children are present, especially with all the construction that's going to be going on with, let's say, Vonage. That should be probably a 5-year project. If we can alternate or maybe designate a truck route. I know they're county roads, maybe we can work with the county on that, but if we can somehow make it easier and safer for these kids, because Holmdel Road, even though it's county, is a 40-mile-an-hour road. Holland, same. Crawford, same. I mean, if we're going to have our kids walking along there, and not only the kids, but especially with dual-income families, grandparents are going to be walking kids to school, so I don't fear for just the kids, I fear for the people that are taking them there. And also, they mentioned that 50% of the sidewalks are insufficient and 50% were sufficient. Are we going to address that, and how much is it going to cost to fix these sidewalks, and are we even going to do that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, do you want to address the sidewalk question?
Under the sidewalk, under the law, when courtesy busing is taken away, it doesn't say courtesy busing is not there, you have to walk to school. It's up to the parent to figure out how the kid's going to get to school. So we only have to, at this point, because financially it wouldn't be possible to do, we would have to just try to grow it, and that's what our plan is to grow it over time. When it comes to any sidewalks that we're responsible for, we're going to go ahead and make sure that they're as safe as possible. If they're lifted, I'll have DPW making a note of that so we can have those repaired. Again, homeowners are responsible for their sidewalks on the front and side. So if there's something that they see, they're going to need to get out and have that either repaired or in some way to make it safer. But to build more sidewalks right now, that's not what this plan was for. This plan was to show where we could walk to school. The remaining would have to figure another way to get there or sign up for the subscription busing.
Can I ask
Thank
you a
you.
quick question, real quick? You said 23% of the 700?
Yeah, 700 children that are in the in the area of where they would have to walk to school
Are walking.
are either already walking, or because only 23% of them signed up for subscription busing.
23%, so 77% are walking.
Yes, either walking or getting another way to school.
77% of an alternative way to get to
Yeah.
school.
So, okay, so.
Because we're seeing, and we're seeing it from our police department as well, that they're actually, the parents are dropping them off now. Even before we did this, parents are dropping off. There's lines every day, so.
Anybody else for agenda items? Yes, Jenny.
Jenny Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. You didn't mention bicycles. How are you dealing with the kids who want to ride a bike to school? They're not going to be doing it on the sidewalk in large measure. So there they are on the street, in the snowdrifts, in the glop along the street.
Chris, we have kids that are riding their bikes now, so maybe
Yeah, they're riding their bikes now, and ultimately, that again, it's up to what their parents allow them to do during those situations. But they can't ride. I mean, technically, they're not supposed to ride bicycles on sidewalks anyway. So, if they're allowing them, they're allowing them to do that already. So, again, we're going to make sure our roads are as wide as we can make them. There is going to be a situation, and with the resident who came up earlier, we're going to have to actually move snow. So instead of just pushing snow come winter, we're going to, if it's a bad storm like we had this year, we'll move snow, meaning we'll bring it to areas of town that we have property, and it'll be hauled off and dumped so that it isn't there. It's not going to be there. We'll remove it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comment for agenda items? Only one shot. Any other questions for agenda items, comment for agenda items? Nope, moving on. Can I get a motion to vote for the consent agenda?
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Bontempo?
So, consent, Wendy, let me just see real quick. Yes, on the beginning through 182 and no 183.
183, no. Do we have to pull that separate, Michael? No? Okay. Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
I'm going to abstain on 178.
We don't have 178.
Crossing guard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're abstaining from
Yeah,
178.
I'm abstaining from 178.
Okay.
I think there's just, it seems like there's a lot of coordination with DPW. I'd like a little bit more time to, dig into this and understand it better and how we're going to do that. So I'd like to abstain on that one.
Okay.
And then I'm a no on 183.
Okay.
Yes on the rest.
Okay. Mr. Vanderham?
Yes on all.
Mayor Pravaduto?
Yes.
Okay. Resolutions 2026-165 through 2026-183 have successfully passed. Thank you. Next is introduction of ordinance 2026-18, which is an ordinance of the Township of Holmdel authorizing the acquisition of the property identified on the tax map of the Township of Holmdel as Block 59, Lots 6 and 7 by negotiated purchase or eminent domain. This motion is to adopt on first reading, publish on the Holmdel Township website, and set the public hearing for September 8th, 2026.
Can I get a motion to vote?
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Bontempo?
No.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
No.
Mr. Vanderham?
Yes.
Mayor Pravaduto?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 2026-18 will be set for public hearing for September 8th, 2026. Next is hearing on ordinance, which the first one is Bond Ordinance 2026-15, which is providing for improvements to various township roads by and in the Township of Holmdel in the County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, appropriating $650,000 therefore, including a $253,584 grant from the New Jersey Department of Transportation, and authorizing the issuance of 416,000 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof.
Anything from the public on the bond ordinance supporting road improvements? Yes, Jenny.
Jenny Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. What streets are you talking about?
Mr. Administrator?
Jenny, it's Union Avenue. Union Avenue, right, it's right off of 35, so, and it's this portion of our town, yes.
Between Dearborn and...
Yeah, yes.
I just say so.
Any other comment? Okay. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderham?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto?
Yes.
Bond ordinance 2026-15 has been successfully passed. Thank you. Next is hearing on ordinance 2026-16, which is an ordinance establishing data centers as prohibited use.
Before we go to public hearing, Mike, you have something you want to read off?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. At the last meeting when the ordinance was introduced, there was discussion about the ordinance's applicability or potential applicability to Somerset, which possesses a zoning under a redevelopment plan at the Bell Works building. As the public may be aware, Somerset filed at the Planning Board on July 24th, 2026, an application for site plan approval which involves the use of a data center, which is a permitted use under the redevelopment plan. Subsequent to that filing, Somerset's council conferred with myself and other township professionals, and by letter requested that a representation be made as to whether their application satisfied what's called the time of application rule, which is under NJSA 40:55D-10.5. It's a provision in the municipal land use law that essentially allows a land use board applicant to have the benefit of the zoning at the time of their application, provided their application is complete with respect to any subsequent zoning changes. The application that was filed by Somerset in response to this letter was reviewed by the township planner, the township planning board planner, Kate Keller, who reviewed everything and found that the application is in fact complete for purposes of the municipal land use law provision that I read to you and the corresponding case law. As such, consistent with the law, the planning board secretary issued a letter that found that the time of application rule is applicable to the application. Somerset, in response to that letter that was issued, expressed their opposition to the ordinance being adopted specific to the Bell Works property, but states that they deem the matter moot in light of the time of application rule finding, and that as a result, provided I acknowledge their objection in the record based upon their letter dated August 11th, 2026, which I do hereby reference, that they would not make further objection tonight to the consideration or adoption of the ordinance. So, long story short, Somerset's site plan application, from a legal standpoint, will have the benefit of zoning prior to consideration of this ordinance based upon the law.
But that said, Mike, because I want to make sure it's clear for everybody, this now sits in front of the planning board. So just because it applies to prior zoning does not mean it has to go through the same evaluative process that everything does as it goes in front of the planning board.
That's absolutely correct, Mayor. The applicant is obligated to obtain site plan approval. That requires meeting the various proofs that are necessary to obtain that. They filed a lengthy application at the planning board, and you can trust that the planning board will do its job with its professionals to review that and have the necessary hearings and serve as the adjudicative body of that. So this statement is strictly with respect to whether or not there's going to be an issue on the permitted use, but nothing as it pertains to the merits of the application.
Okay. And so before we take public comment on this, I just want to be really clear. The planning board is its own semi-judicial body. What that means is we're not going to opine on where this could go. You know, they're based on the rules or the facts that are presented, they're going to determine whether or not they want to, you know, they think it's okay to move forward with this. You know, I am actually a de facto member of the planning board as the mayor. Any comment we make to the good or to the bad or to the veracity of the application could be seen as influencing one way or another the planning board's vote, and I won't, you know, I don't want us to be in that
And
situation.
legally, we can't do that.
And legally, we can't do
The
it.
committee can't comment on a pending planning board application.
So, so obviously we'll listen to comments from the public, but there's nothing we can speak to about it here as it no longer sits with us. Yes, sir.
I'm just curious what kind of data center.
Officer, name and address, please.
Zico Abbas. I'm from Hazlitt. I'm not from Holmdel. I'm just curious.
Right, your name and address still.
Oh, I'm sorry. Zico Abbas, 9 Northfield Court, Hazlitt, New Jersey.
Okay. What was the question, sir?
Do you know what kind of data center they're referring to?
What kind of data center?
Yes, sir. I mean, there's carrier hotels. There's, you know, server farms. There's AI data centers. They're all very, very different, sir.
Well, Mike, I don't know if you
Yeah,
have
that's going to
anything
be a question for the planning board. We're not in a position to opine on the
that's fine.
specifics
Then
of the
I'll
application.
Just make a general comment if that's okay. If
Absolutely,
it's
you're
in fact
welcome
an
to.
AI data center, I would encourage you guys to hire an expert who understands AI data centers and the usage of water as it relates to those data centers, and the consumption of power and what that would do to the township, 1, to the school, 2, and then to the residents, 3.
Thank you. And this is why we've taken the steps to control what we. This is why we've taken the steps to control what we can control, which is to propose the ordinance to ban the data centers in town. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Serena Didi, and I live on 38 South Beer Street. I understand that data centers can be problematic, but putting a complete ban on them forever, I think, is just a little too extreme. Artificial intelligence is not going away. There's a lot of innovation happening across the country for data centers and for artificial intelligence, and in other parts of the country, you know, I've worked in the energy finance space for many years, and in other parts of the country, they're proposing ways that the entire community can benefit. There can be additional, you know, property tax revenue that the state could, the town could get, and they, you know, with that and whatever the developers provide, you could get free solar panels for all homeowners potentially. I mean, there could be free batteries. All of that could reduce carbon emissions. I just think that there should be a dialogue with developers. We should have studies. I think a complete ban is a little too extreme. You could put a moratorium on it for a few years if you want to, until the state has developed a broader strategy. But banning it completely is just completely you're just shutting off the conversation, and there could be a lot of benefits, both monetary and environmental, and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think just, you know, what I'll say is this. There's a lot of unknowns around data centers and their environmental impact right now and the amount of power they're going to take and things of that nature. And I think noise is another issue for a lot of residents, or for, you know, for folks that are opposed. You know, if the ordinance passes tonight, it's an ordinance. You know, if issues or concerns get remedied a year from now or 2 years from now, we can change our ordinance, right? So this is we don't want it. There's too many unknowns. There's things that we can't control or fully understand right now. So again, you know, we're going to control what we can control. If I'm going to make something up 3 years from now, data centers are the cleanest, most perfect way to occupy land in town. It's conceivable the governing body then will reverse course. So this isn't, you know, this isn't something that can't be undone if in fact we learn more and we determine that they're a beneficial use. Anyone else for data center? Yes, Francine.
Francine Campus, 2 Country Squire Lane. I'm going to take the opposite. I want to applaud you for doing this ordinance. These data centers right now are uncertain. We don't know the uncertain effects of them, and we want to keep this town good. I don't want to find out in 10 years that, you know, the water consumption. New Jersey is, JCP&L is asking for an 8% hike in electricity already. And I've heard data centers consume a lot of electricity. We know what happens when demand rises and the supply is limited, the costs go up. So I don't want to pay for this data center. Okay, so I'm going to applaud that ordinance, leave it there. The thing about Bell Works upsets me, because when they were talking about alternatives for Vonage, one of them was somebody mentioned building a data center. And the answer was, there's not enough electricity here or power into Holmdel to support a data center. Now, I'm not saying anything, or I don't know, but all of a sudden these high poles are built in our town, and Bell Works comes in with an application for a data center. I don't know. That just makes me wonder. Okay? I don't know where, I mean, here I put in a generator to help give sustenance to JCPenney. They act like a JCPenney, no. JCP&L, because I can't count on their electricity. So I put in a generator, and so did a lot of other people in this town. So I don't want to hear these tall poles will come up to make us, you know, more safer in our environment. So that makes me wonder, okay? Tall poles, application. Bell Works, I know a lot of people think it's a wonderful thing that came to this town. It is in a lot of ways, but I'm starting to look at how good is it, okay? My taxes have not gone down or not stayed the same since Bell Works came to town. So chasing ratables, what did it do for the residents? Zero, okay? I have now people coming from out of town using our infrastructure, and you know it because you're closing the lot. You're looking to close the lot for the public transportation, which a lot of residents of Holmdel were using.
We're not looking to close that lot, Francine.
Yeah, but you're looking to do something with the Garden State Parkway, because you said a lot of cars are coming in and out of our town.
Well, the Parkway approached us. There's 5,000 cars a day that go in and out.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, we don't need 5,000 cars using our streets. That's ridiculous. But what I'm saying is, now Bell Works, when it got the redevelopment, it was a permitted use because you didn't know what they were going to put there. So maybe you could have put a data center. Why should that hold up? That now that they're there, they can do anything they want. That's basically what they're saying. And the fact that they would, I know you can't comment on this, but the fact that they would think that they should come here and object to our town passing an ordinance to stop data centers is outrageous. Do they think they own this town? Maybe they do. I don't know. But it's gotten ridiculous, okay? And as I said, my main thing is to applaud you. Stick to your guns with data centers, because we don't know enough here. But I'm upset over Bell Works. I really am. Thank you.
Francine. And just a quick note on, Francine, on your point on taxes. Over the past 10 years, municipal tax has gone up a total of 2%. School tax has gone up 35%. So I understand your concern around taxes and taxes going up, but on the municipal side, we've held the line pretty strongly for the past decade, to the best we can. Anyone else on data centers? Yes.
Hi, my name is Jeff George, Tin Falls. I'm at Jersey Goy on social media. I just want to say about these data centers. They're not building these giant data centers because, you know, little Jimmy is making silly memes with ChatGPT, okay? It has nothing to do with that. These data centers are, you know, Palantir surveillance AI data centers. This is the Israeli surveillance state coming right to your backyard. And you cannot trust it. You can't trust those tall poles. You can't trust Bell Works. You can't trust the owners of Bell Works. So I'm just,
shut him down?
it has nothing to do with you using ChatGPT.
Sir.
That's what I'm trying to
Sir,
tell you,
Sorry,
okay?
you have to
First of all,
address the
can you
governing body.
address the committee and not everybody else, please?
I think it's rude for me to talk to you with my back to a room full of
But
people.
you're
That's how this
addressing the
works.
committee.
Yeah, and these
That's-
people voted for
that's
you,
how this
okay?
works.
So I'm going to address
Yeah.
them just as much as I'm
Officer.
going to address you.
All right. You have to address us.
I am. I'm talking.
Okay.
You can't hear me?
You have to look at us and not the crowd.
These elected officials are telling me I'm not allowed to turn around and look at you all. Can you believe that?
Yes. See that?
That's crazy. All right. Have a great night.
All right. Anybody else on data centers? Okay, Wendy, let's move to vote.
Okay.
I'm sorry, saw a late one there. Emery?
I've been doing a little research on data centers, and I applaud that the ordinance is going to pass tonight, hopefully. Everyone will vote for it. But I think there can be augmented. I found a sample ordinance that is about 4 pages long, and it has some very good verbiage regarding the banning of data centers, whereas data centers by, Ann Bontempo, 22 Grandview Drive, Holmdel, sorry about that. Data centers by nature present an intense and unique form of land use and development, posing significant challenges related to electricity consumption, noise, air quality, water use, community character, and long-term planning objectives. Whereas preliminary data cited by members of the New Jersey State Legislature has cautioned that large-scale data centers can use as much as 3 to 5 million gallons of water in a single day between liquid cooling and water consumed to generate the energy that powers them. And whereas this extreme volume of water usage impacts homes and businesses both within the host municipality and the surrounding communities, and whereas preliminary studies noted by state legislature also indicated that some data centers require 300 megawatts of electricity, which is roughly equivalent to the output of a small modular nuclear reactor. And whereas in only the last year, the majority of the state has already seen consumer energy cost increase more than 20%, with additional increases expected within the next few months. And that was on the radio today. It's going to go up at least 9%. Whereas the high-tech data centers are proliferating throughout the state, consume large amounts of electrical power at a time when energy costs are increasing for ratepayers, and whereas it is well established that the overdevelopment, urbanization, and overuse of environmental resources impact subterranean aquifers, which we are well aware of, and the quality of drinking water, which we are well affected by, and other water resources that poses a substantial strain on community water resources. And whereas the governing body is conscientious of hazards such as depletion of critical groundwater resources, the impact of environmental and natural resources posed by scope, depth, and pervasiveness of large-scale commercial data centers operations, whereas municipal regulations designed for the preservation of the environment and protection of ecological values are well recognized, legitimate, and proper exercise of municipal authority. Whereas cutting and the removal of trees have been found to cause and create increased soil erosion and dust, instability, and deterioration of the value of surrounding property and other adverse environmental and geographical conditions. And whereas the dramatic increases in the changes in population, development, and the impact of certain data center operations on residents, businesses, the environment, and private and public property have imposed significant burdens on municipal resources and have created increased need of balance the rights and interests of the residents and the general public with that of the legitimate rights of property owners and conduct business without unreasonable regulation. And whereas in light of these significant changes and confluence with the modern advancement in technology, scientific environmental research that have allowed for more accurate and comprehensive understanding of the hazards and dangers posed by surrounding property, environmental and natural resources and general public, and the proliferation and expansion of governmental regulation of the environment, safety, and business in general that have occurred since the enactment of municipality zonings and development regulations, the mayor and the council have determined it necessary and appropriate to amend and update its ordinances to adequately address their data center uses in a manner that best reflects present needs and realities. And whereas, this is a suggestion, whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Township of Holmdel have determined that it is time and necessary and appropriate in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and members of the public who visit, travel, or conduct business in our township to amend the township zoning regulations code, revised general ordinances to include all manner of data centers, land use, and development as a non-permitted use within the geographical boundaries of the Township of Holmdel, and to otherwise improve and strengthen the nature, scope, manner, and effectiveness of such regulations. I'll end there because there is more, but I don't want to bore you with all the other details. But essentially, this covers everything. I'd like to hand it to you if you'd like to read it.
Sure.
I would suggest giving it to Wendy, and she could put it in the record.
There you go.
If that works.
We'll enter it into the record. Chris, that reminds me, let's make sure Sorry, this conversation reminded me. Let's make sure we lock down a date in September for JCP&L and their project team to come in as they promised.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Emma? Yeah, this is for the ordinance, right, Ron? Yeah.
Ron Emma, 32 Ladwood Drive. I try to stay out, but you bring me right back in. The data center. You know better than anyone. First, the question that needs to be answered is, when's the last time the Township Committee said no that the Planning Board approved something? That's number one. You know as well as anyone, you've already said that Kate Kelleher, the Planning Board planner, has approved, not approved the project, but said it meets the requirements. So here we go again. It's just going to be like Vonage. It's going to be Planning Board said approved it, so then you're going to approve it. It's going to be a ping pong ball back and forth. The Planning Board is going to say they have to approve it because it meets all the requirements. Then it's going to come to you and you're going to say, well, the Planning Board approved it, so we have to approve it. So you're going to pass an ordinance tonight saying no data centers other than on the biggest development that we have, which is Bell Works. So we're going to have a huge data center at Bell Works because it was filed prior to tonight, and there's not going to be any other data centers. You're going to hang your hat on. We passed an ordinance saying no to all data centers, except that one's going to be on the biggest property in Bell Works. That's what's going to happen. I just want to warn everybody. It's going to get rubber stamped because, oh, by the way, as you know, I'm an ex-planning board member, so I know how that works. It's going to get rubber stamped on the planning board. It's going to come to you. You're going to say it was approved by the planning board, and it's going to get approved. So it's going to be the same thing with the Vonage with the sewer. You said you couldn't do anything because it was DEP approved, and you had to approve it. This is exactly what's going to happen, and I want everyone to be aware that this ordinance tonight about banning data centers, though it's a good one, it's obviously going to come too late for a data center on the largest development that we have in town, which is Bell Works. Thank you. And
Thank you.
so just answer the question, the first question about when was the last time the Township Committee overturned a planning board approved resolution?
Go ahead, Mike.
You're not going to overturn
Go
this.
ahead, Mike.
Sure. So a couple things to unpack. First, the Township Committee by ordinance does not have a review function over the Planning Board. So the Planning Board makes their decisions, and if someone doesn't agree with those decisions, they go straight to Superior Court. So the committee is not involved in it. So if the Planning Board says yes or no, it doesn't make a difference. The committee doesn't have any say on that. And also on the point about Ms. Keller's review, she did not say anything is approved. All she said was that the documents that were submitted were sufficient to have a complete application on file. That is what the legal entitlement is to the zoning in effect at the time of application. The entire application could be faulty, and that means the application would fail on its merits at the planning board. So I don't want anyone to take away from this that anything has been approved. That's simply not the case. It's just that the documents have been filed and that the documents are sufficient to meet that time of application rule standard.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone? Nate?
Nate Brown, 251 South Holland. I just wanted to go back to the last meeting that we had. We had actually identified this, as a gap, because when we had said in the next meeting you were going to vote upon the ordinance to ban data centers town-wide, I've done my research. I knew that Bell Works had this in place years ago. I found this out in May, regardless of how I found it out. But we asked about it in the last meeting. What was the last meeting? The 21st or 22nd?
That sounds right.
Yes. So it's just a coincidence that we had asked. We had talked to Michael here, and said, can we file a referendum or amendment, whatever it was, to get that taken away from that. I don't know the exact terminology of how to say it, but basically to stop it from Bell Works and to reverse what was done years ago to not allow data centers. And it's a coincidence that 2 days after that meeting, this thing gets submitted. This application gets submitted. But in the meantime, you had said in the last meeting that you were looking into how to make that happen, how to get that reversed.
I think there's a couple things there, and I want to just unpack it for a minute. Nate, if you're done, you can have a seat. If not, so Mike, as I recall, when you were asked, you said legally it's a gray area as to whether or not the ordinance pertains to Bell Works, correct?
Yes. The question at the time was whether this ordinance, if adopted tonight, would reach the Bell Works redevelopment. Somerset, in its letter that raises objections, raises specific legal arguments to contend that the ordinance would not reach their property even if they didn't make the application, including that under the redevelopment law, contending that there needs to be a specific redevelopment plan amendment rather than just a general zoning change, and that the redevelopment agreement would be violated as well. As I said earlier, I was not going to take a legal position on that at the last meeting. I am not going to take a legal position on that at this meeting. That would be addressed by the Township Committee in executive session. The practical import, though, is that that legal issue is a moot point because the time of application rule applies.
And Nate, just to, I think what you were, when you mentioned an amendment, I think what you were referring to was reopening the redevelopment agreement. That takes two parties to do that.
That's
We can't just reopen it and make a change. That takes both parties agreeing upon making a change there. There's been discussions over time about a great many things, and that's where it yields. There was no discussion about a data center and reopening the redevelopment agreement at the time. We didn't expect, we introduced an ordinance and they filed, right? That's kind of where this went. This was, and Greg, you voted in favor of. You can speak to the mindset 15 years ago, I guess it was 13 years ago, of when this was considered an approved use. You have the history here.
Yeah, so I think it was probably my rookie year, 2013, I believe, up here. Your father, the mayor at the time, put it on the agenda on the redevelopment agreement. At the time, it was looking for revenue and trying to work with the developer to be open. Data centers have changed in the last decade, so I don't think anybody saw this coming. I do think there's hopeful opportunity to work with these guys. It seems, probably not just to me, coincidental to everybody out here, that we file to block data centers, and they've had this for 13 years, and the day after we introduce this thing, they file, right? It's kind of odd. So did our putting this on the agenda prompt them to start a data center project? Probably a valid question. A lot of concerns here. A lot of concerns I have. Probably a lot of concerns majority of the people in the audience have too. It's our town, right? And we don't want to see it ruined. We don't want to see the degradation of natural resources like our water supply. We don't want to see our energy costs continue to skyrocket. There's a lot of challenges with this thing. And I think we need to continue to look for ways to, as Nate said, amend that development agreement to say, you had a long time to do it, maybe now's not the time, and maybe that's worth a legal battle of trying to protect the town. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of why I'm here, right? I want to do what's best for the town, for all the residents, and I think there's other ways to look at this, so I don't think this is dead. I'm glad people came out and showing their concern about this, because it's in my opinion, it's a very, very valid concern. There's a lot we don't know, and I think the one gentleman said bring in an expert. I think we need to have somebody come in with expertise in the area. There's a reason why towns are banning these things. There's a reason why. We're not the only one, right? Because they're probably seeing things go sideways in their towns that have these things installed and put in place. So I don't think we can end this tonight. I think this is hopefully one step to preserving our town. We're basically a farming town, right? It's our backbone, our history. So we want to continue that. So, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the committeeman's point, as he knows, this is not the end of anything other than us taking control of the situation that we can control. When this goes to the planning board will gauge what happens, and we'll see what happens from that point forward. I'd also like to remind the committeeman, with all due respect, you were mayor for 4 of the 10 years, and you didn't seek to reopen anything to prevent a redevelopment, to prevent the data center from opening.
in hindsight, this was a horrible addendum to the addition to that redevelopment agreement. I don't want to go back and forth because I don't want to bore the public, but it's a bad decision. But the current township may need to do something to try to prevent it, protect the town. That's my view.
And that's the steps we're taking. I appreciate that because those are the steps we're taking. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Burden, 15 Yellowbrook Road here in Holmdel, and I'm just up here as a concerned parent. I'm concerned about the data center. I think it's a great idea that we're doing to have this ordinance up today. I think, as people have said, and as we follow the news, town by town has been having these ordinances. So I think that this is great. So that's a total positive. But also, I live close to Bellworks, so I'm also concerned. So I will be interested in following what's going on in the planning board. I have a kid. Oh, sorry. Is that better? Yeah. I'm a little tall, so okay. I feel like I'm doing karaoke. You know, I have a kid. I'm concerned. We go to Bellworks often. There's lots of kids there. There's lots of neighborhoods like mine around Bellworks. We hear about the noise, about the water, and you know, what about our property values as well? I think the health and the annoyance is the most concern, but also, like, are people going to want to move into Holmdel if we have this? So I think that that's an important point.
No, and I appreciate that. And I think one of the reasons, frankly, right, other than the sort of unknowns and intangibles, if you will, you know, we do worry about the reputational impact on our town, right? And this is why we want to make sure that, you know, we stood up for it, right? So I appreciate that point. Anybody else on data centers? Yes, ma'am.
Kristen Solero, 5 Hopbrook Lane. So I echo what the folks who came before me have said, and I especially Ron Emma, who brings a good point, because with Vonage, we've seen this playbook before. When something is in a redevelopment agreement, and if anybody wants to talk to me about Vonage, I lived it for quite a while, so we'll talk about it. I'm happy to. Nobody wants this, guys. And we want to know if you have done everything you can, and if you are willing to, and if you will do everything you can to stop this. Because with the water, the noise, the light, the cost of the resources, this is a burden you're shifting to the town, as with other burdens that I'm sorry I was late, but I was listening to the whole meeting. So we want to know, Rocco, we want to know what you're going to do. And it's hard to believe when you say we're going to do something, when you say, well, I stand with residents about the big ugly utility poles, yet they're here. So how do you stand with us? What have you done? So I'd like to know.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
The only thing I'll say is that under a redevelopment agreement, unlike other scenarios where there's just a regular land use applicant, the township is actually in a contract with Somerset, where both parties have responsibilities to each other, and so that does, in fact, restrict our ability to speak to a particular viewpoint, and then that's compounded by the planning board application being pending. So it's just a legal reality that we can't comment.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Victoria Scottalovino, 8 Hidden Hollow. I agree with everyone who spoke before me. It's almost as if Kristen and I had similar notes. I've also started evaluating the costs, the environment, and a number of other items. My point is really about the bandying back and forth between planning board and town council. I'm on record stating this before. Respectfully, I don't think the planning board is equipped with enough information or education on what their role needs to be. It's not about looking at a piece of paper, what people are saying, does this make sense, and equal something else. They need to think for themselves of what it is that they're doing. We have experts we pay for. I don't think they've read our master plan. I've read the master plan. I can show you where things are completely inconsistent with what the redevelopment is suggesting. And there's a lot of gray area. There are no stats anywhere. To the point that someone made with the person that was here on busing and some of the others, this is seems to be a pattern where we're making decisions without data, without facts, without numbers. we're kind of winging it, saying, okay, let's go to the next meeting, and then voila, all of a sudden it happens. Vonage, Bell Works, water issues. We're teetering on so many levels, and now we're going back to the planning board tomorrow, or next week. Of course, I'll be there. I'll witness that circus, and then I'll come back here. Well, planning board said that, so we're gonna have to agree. When does it end? You're all throughout Facebook, Rocco, saying how much you're doing for the town, how you're listening to the citizens, and that you're doing everything to push back. Yeah, we've got the polls with JCP&L. We have Vonage. We're straining Bell Works, and now they have this little loophole. I bet they're listening to everything that we do in all of these. They have AI running, so they can capture it, so they can start putting in what they want to do to this town. Respectfully, this is your chance to make good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else in data centers? Peter?
Pete Franco, 5 Hopbrook Lane, Holmdel. And as far as 2013 with data centers, hyperscale data centers, I don't think they even compare anything to what they are today. Today they're 5 million gallons. Back then they were less than 1 million gallons. There were 100 to 200,000 square foot buildings, where now they're between 500,000 and 1 million square feet. You know, it's the amount of power that they consume went from 20 megawatts or whatever it was to, you know, what are they going to cap them at 50 in New Jersey? I think we truthfully, we didn't know back in 2013 when, you know, your father and Greg voted for it or whatever. I did, you know, thinking about it, it could have been an avenue to generate some income for the town or whatever. But I just think that now, 13, 14 years later, the magnitude, the size of these things is just, it's immense. We need to stop this. And back to what Ron was saying about the planning board, you know, we tried to fight Vonage. You know, we did a great job with the wastewater treatment plant. You know, we were chastised, we were blamed for holding up the process. And it was even laughed about at the last planning board meeting when Scott resigned. They brought up the application and everybody joked about it. Are you guys going to make sure that the planning board like really takes this serious? So when the Vonage people come out to show their support against these data centers, that we're going to be taken serious, because, you know, when this stuff happens, it kind of undermines us and it makes us feel like all the effort we put into it was worthless, because again, they approved it. You guys, you know, you guys signed off on it, and it's a done deal. Like, can we all work together and assure that this is really going to be taken serious, more so than I feel that the Vonage application was?
We can't say what the planning board members are going to do. They are legally obligated to serve as quasi-judicial officers and to hear the application and apply the law, and that's the system that we have in New Jersey. And so we can't say that we're going to tell them to treat an application a certain way, because that would go against the entire spirit of the whole thing. And quite honestly, if you're against the data center, it would only help the applicant by us trying to put our finger on the scales.
Mike, can you say to the public what the footprint of this proposed is? Is that okay? Is that allowed?
Yeah. So there's the planning board application. Well, the redevelopment plan from 2013 provides that a data center is a permitted use outside the ring road, and that a data center can be located in the building that's behind the Bell Works building, and I believe the term is generally in the same footprint. I don't have the square footages or anything, but the application that they have submitted does propose taking down that building and building what appears to be attempting to comply with that requirement about the footprint. So, you know, in terms of the size, it would be roughly the same size as the building behind the building.
So if you people, most people have been there, know what they're talking about. The building in the back of the building in back of the main building is the footprint. I don't know the exact size of it, but it's not a gigantic building, right? So that's going to be my belief, without seeing the plan, limiting to what they could do, right? Because it's I don't know. I'm not a data center expert, nor am I trying to be, but I'm saying that it's limited. The plan, redevelopment plan, does limit them to that footprint of that existing building that's there today. If that makes sense.
That's exactly right, Committeeman. And I would add that the planning board has the legal obligation to ensure that whatever they have submitted complies with the redevelopment plan, and then also, all sorts of other considerations.
Thank you. Anyone else on data centers? Yes, ma'am, in the back. Yeah.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, yeah, Sophia, 23 Goldsmith Drive here. I just got here. I didn't know that they could, that this was even a potential eventuality that Bellworks could build a data center. I don't really want one in my backyard, that's all I'm gonna say. They're loud, they're pollution supreme, and they're gonna make the electric bills higher. It's also, like the Bellworks area, the footprint, like you were saying, is really close to the school, and I've heard of kids having seizures from these things. I don't know if that is whatever data center they're gonna build there. I don't know if that's exclusive to hyperscalers, but yeah, I'm very concerned about the potential infrasound from these sorts of things. Please do your best to prevent this from happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Hi, my name's Helen Salisi. I'm not even actually in the town of Holmdel. I'm in the neighboring town of
Address,
Middletown.
please. Address, please.
108 Eulin Road, and I'm in the neighboring town, and data center does not only affect Holmdel, it affects our town too. It affects the use of electricity, it affects everything, okay? All the things that were already stated. But what I don't understand is that it seems that this data center can steamroll, okay, and it is a big deal. It seems like it could just steamroll our neighborhood, where there's a small little farm that our community just wants to be alive, and it has hit so many roadblocks. Oak Hill Farm. We just want a little farm in our neighborhood. Can we have that? Like, I think that it's up to you as the mayor of this town, but also my community, to stop this data center, because I don't care about AI. I really don't. It just creates laziness in people, okay? But a farm creates community. People come there. People go and enjoy the animals and the fresh air. Please consider saving our farm. Thank you.
Anybody else on data centers? Ken?
You spoke already. Sorry. At the end, you can.
Ken GH State Street. First of all, I want to say we do support the banning of the data center. However, the real issue is this data center at Bellworks. I gotta tell you guys, the optics here does not look good, right? The whole process of getting the time of the application, I mean, this is nuts. There was no planning board meeting. You base on the, Kate Keller, the planning thing. What about professionals, others to deem the application being complete? That makes it so that it's easy for you guys in terms of time application. That's really nuts. There should be no fear. If you're gonna pass an ordinance, So, I remember it wasn't that long ago where we decided to go with other towns and, fought against the affordable housing, right? We spent who knows how much money. I mean, we probably should open that. We were willing to fight the state and then went up to the federal level to fight affordable housing. So, and then you were willing to do other things. Here you got lots of people here who are against the data center at Bellworks, not against the, obviously the ordinance. Let's see some talk and walk that merges. If you're really against it, do an executive session or whatever. You guys don't need to say anything in public. But if you really want to fight this, let your actions show that, because right now it doesn't look good. It's the same playbook as Vonage, the water contamination, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I just want to remind everybody, the ordinance was introduced, and there's a special planning board meeting to actually review the ordinance itself to make sure it complied with master plan. So we called a special meeting to do that. And it was several weeks after it was introduced where Bellworks submitted. It wasn't the day after. I want to make sure our facts are straight on that. Is that right, Counselor? Okay, so we have to introduce an ordinance, and then we have to vote on it. There's always going to be a gap in time on that, and the additional step was the planning board reviewing the ordinance we introduced to make sure that it complied with the rules. So those were the steps taken. I'd also like to remind everybody that we remedied the environmental concerns around Vonage to move that project forward. Data centers, anybody else? Back left, sorry.
Hello, Carl Molnar, 31 Ladwood. Just wondering if that agreement or contract that you guys are referencing could be made public, or if it is public, if it's easy to find, where we could find it. I'm not a lawyer, but I do look at contracts a lot, and it's very often that lawyers will sneak in little words here and there that try to, pull the wool over your eyes, like we're kind of hearing about there. Well, there's also other ways that maybe wool can be pulled back over. Is there a definition of data center? Maybe in our ordinance, a definition of data center might overrule some other definitions. So just other things to think about, as we go to move forward with this ordinance, definitions, terms, sizing, noise quality, things like that. Just something to think about.
Thank you. You want to speak to
Yeah,
that?
redevelopment agreement's a public document. I would imagine it's on the township's website. If it's not, please contact the clerk's office and you could certainly get a copy.
Anything else on data centers? Sarah?
Hi, Sarah Cho, 4 Putnam Court. In terms of timeline, can you be very specific as to, it looks like the ordinance has been written into in legislation, or where are we in the timeline for this ordinance to ban data centers? When do you expect to, I guess, review it and pass it? And then in terms of timeline for this application, is there a certain timeline that the planning board has to review it, reject it, approve it? I just want to know and make sure, because I feel very disappointed in this leadership thus far, that the ordinance, is more of a facade to say, well, we're opposing data centers, but you're opposing it, but the timeline for getting it approved is faster than the ordinance that's going to be put into place. So in order to remove any doubt as to your intentions, I would like to understand the timeline for when the ordinance is going to be passed and put into law to ban a data center, and then concurrently, what is the timeline for the data center approval by the planning board? Thank you.
Thank you. So once public hearing is over, we're going to vote on whether or not to pass the ban on data centers. So that'll happen tonight. In terms of the planning board timeline, I don't know what that even looks like.
Yeah, it's an iterative process. The board professionals need to review documents, confer with the applicant. Technically, under the municipal land use law, there's 120 days, but that is subject to extensions. So it'll be a multi-month process to make sure that application is reviewed and then heard.
When does this become effective? If it is banned, is it effective immediately?
Yes.
There's no window, correct?
Correct.
No, this is effective immediately, provided we vote in favor.
Just once I publish it.
Once Wendy publishes it.
Tomorrow.
All right. Effective tomorrow, then, Wendy. There you go.
Indefinitely.
And ordinances are
It's
indefinite.
permanent.
Anybody else on data centers? All right, let's move to a vote.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderham?
Yes.
Mayor Impreviduto?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 2026-16 has been successfully passed. Thank you. Next is ordinance 2026-17, which is an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement for a senior center at 23 Main Street property. This motion is going to be to table the public hearing and final adoption till September 8th, 2026, with legal renoticing upon lease instrument being on file with the township clerk.
I get a motion to table.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderham?
Yes.
Mayor Provoduto?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2026-17 has been tabled and will be set for public hearing on the September 8th agenda.
All right, thanks, Wendy. I
You're
was going to
welcome.
move to the administrator, but he seems to have stepped away for a moment. So why don't we go out of order? And Mike, why don't you, if you have anything you want to update us on?
I don't. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Let's go to the committee. Mr. Bontempo.
So IT updates. I'll try to keep this brief. Thanks, Wendy. Cybersecurity infrastructure upgrades, server and system infrastructure were updated to address recent security vulnerabilities and ensure local township data remains safe and secure. Cybersecurity threat assessment, NJ-KIC issued their August 2026 cybersecurity bulletin this week and highlighted key points for New Jersey residents. It's called TOAD, telephone-oriented attack delivery. Cyber attacks are a form of social engineering that use email to persuade the target to call a provided phone number. Unlike traditional phishing programs, TOAD emails contain no malicious links or attachments, which can help them bypass email security filters. They use phone conversations to build trust and familiarity with the threat actor. In this type of attack, cyber criminals send urgent-sounding emails about fake charges, subscription renewals, or account issues. Instead of containing dangerous links, the emails urge you to call a phone number to resolve the issue. When you call, fraudsters pose as help desk reps or trusted company agents to attempt to gain your trust and trick you into sharing passwords, give remote access to your device, or sending money. These scams are rising rapidly because of criminal groups now rent full call centers, use fake caller IDs, and leverage AI voice tools, sound familiar, to sound completely legitimate over the phone. To protect yourself, never use a phone number provided in a suspicious email. Always look up the official contact number on a company's website or statement. If you suspect a scam or accidentally share financial details, contact your bank immediately. And then, as always, if you find anything, any resident can go on the NJ-KIC, NJCCIC website for any information or for help.
Thank you. Mr. Vanderham.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll start off with the Veterans Committee. The Veterans Resource Fair. On August 19th, Wednesday, the Monmouth County Division on Aging, Disabilities, and Veterans Services will be hosting a Veterans Resource Fair. The fair will run from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Fort Athletic Club in Oceanport. Connect with approximately 75 service providers offering crucial information on healthcare, employment, VA benefits, legal services, education, support services, social activities, and more. Representatives from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs will also be on site conducting special presentations about veterans benefits and veteran centers. Please note seating for the VA presentation is limited, so if pre-registration is requested. See Township Facebook page for more info. Once again, that's Wednesday, August 19th at the Fort Athletic Club in Oceanport. Veteran of the Year nominations. Holmdel is seeking nominations for this year's Veteran of the Year. This commendation is presented annually to a deserving individual who has served in our nation's armed forces and has also made significant contributions to community through volunteerism and service. If you know a veteran who has selflessly given their time to Holmdel, please consider nominating them by sending an email to veterans@holmdel.gov no later than October 15th. Help us honor a veteran who has gone above and beyond for our community. The Holmdel Green Team. Last week, Deputy Mayor Foster, Committeeman Bontempo, and myself had the privilege of joining the Holmdel Green Team for a ribbon-cutting ceremony to officially launch 2 new electric vehicles into the township fleet. This exciting milestone helped the Green Team advance a key goal from their recent adopted community energy plan, focusing on replacing municipal vehicles with sustainable alternatives. Why it matters: cost savings. Fleet electrification significantly cuts down on fuel and maintenance expenses. Environmental impact: it drastically reduces local emissions. And green leadership: it highlights Holmdel Township as a forward-looking, sustainable community. Thank you to the Green Team for their hard work lobbying to bring this forward. Green Team updates. The Green Team is currently planning to install pollinator gardens at Bayonet Farm. The team recently staffed tables at Holmdel's National Night Out and also the City of Water Day in Keensburg, both times distributing information about New Jersey's new Skip the Stuff law, as well as handing out reusable utensils to members of the public. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Committeeman. Mr. Romano.
Starting with community development. Community development was pleased to participate in National Night Out last week, joining our police, fire, and other township departments in an evening focused on building stronger relationships with the community. Thank you to Dina, Courtney, Tom, and Bert for representing community development at this important community event. The kids and adults all love the cool fire prevention swag. Our leniency program is back. We are calling it our Labor Day leniency program, a fresh start for unpermitted home improvements. Backed by popular demand, community development is once again offering a limited time permit amnesty program for homeowners who have completed work without obtaining the required permits. September 1st through September 30th, the township will waive applicable penalties for homeowners who come forward to properly permit and legalize qualifying work that was completed without the required permits and inspections. This program provides residents with an opportunity to correct unpermitted work, such as finished basements, kitchen renovations, water heater replacements, and other improvements, without being subject to the standard penalties, which can be as much as $2,000 per violation. Unpermitted work can become a significant obstacle when selling or refinancing a property, particularly when work is discovered during a property inspection or closing process. The application process is simple. Residents can apply for the necessary permits online through the township website, by phone, or in person at the Community Development Department on the second floor of Town Hall. From Holmdel Library, Mahjong Club now has a regular 20 to 25 participants. All are welcome to join. Chess Club and Chair Yoga are both regularly drawing about 20 participants. Late last month, local author and historian Rick Gefkin hosted a talk on the Battle of Monmouth, which was promoted by Holmdel's 250th committee. Mr. Gefkin will be moving away from the area, so this might be his last presentation for some time. Next Monday, August 17th, the library will host teaching artist Jenna Santamaria for a free class called Art for the Non-Artist, aimed at residents who don't consider themselves artistic. Next Tuesday, August 18th, the library will be hosting a program called Healthy Homes in collaboration with the Monmouth County Public Health Office. From Public Works, September brush collection is about to begin. The kickoff date is August 31st in Section A and will rotate through sections from there. This will be the final brush collection for 2026. Fall leaf collection will commence on November 2nd and will run through the holiday season. And finally, Holmdel will host a residential paper shredding event on November 7th. Check Holmdel's website for more details. Thank you.
Thank you, Committeeman. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple updates from the Board of Education. For the second consecutive year, Holmdel Public Schools have hosted Camp Invention, a nationally recognized STEM enrichment program for students in grades 1 through 6. Students spent 2 weeks designing inventions, building prototypes, and developing their creativity, problem solving, and collaboration skills. For the upcoming school year, the facilities and operations teams have been working throughout the summer to prepare our schools for the new year. This includes deep cleaning, building maintenance, minor renovations, and other facility improvements. Summer athletic programs and a variety of academic and enrichment programs are also underway. Staff return September 1st, students return September 3rd. The Department of Recreation, 2 updates. Save the date for Harvest Fest. This year's Harvest Fest will be held on Saturday, October 10th from 12 to 7 at Bayonet Farm. More information to come at the next meeting. And the Recreation Department is partnering with the organization Autism Harmony to offer a paint and pizza evening for neurodivergent children. The event will be held on Tuesday, September 22nd from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the Senior Community Center. Join us for an evening of guided canvas painting, delicious pizza, and fun with friends. Designed specifically for neurodivergent children and their families. Neurodivergent children are free. Family members and friends are $10 each. Pizza, drinks, snacks, paint, and canvas are included in the price of registration. Registration will open soon. Please keep an eye on social media, emails, and the Rec Department's Rec Desk page for more information. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So this year we're going to be commemorating the 25th anniversary of the terrorist attacks on September 11th. Holmdel Township will be holding a special commemoration event on the evening of Thursday, September 10th at 6:30 p.m. in front of Town Hall. Please join us, the Police Department, Fire Department, First Aid Squad, Scouts, and neighbors in remembering the members of our community who lost their lives that day. At the conclusion of the ceremony, the Holmdel Fire Department will dedicate their new monument, which incorporates a relic from the Twin Towers in New York. The next mayor's office hours will be Saturday, August 29th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. next door, right here in the conference room. The meetings so far have been really productive and constructive, and I've really enjoyed meeting everybody, and everyone is invited to come by. Holmdel Town Hall offices and recycling center will be closed on Monday, September 7th in observance of Labor Day. Please plan accordingly. Thank you to all the residents and volunteers who came out last week and made the National Night Out such a success. It was actually probably the best attended one I've seen since I've been here. The evening was a great opportunity for residents to meet our hardworking first responders and reminded our neighbors of the importance of getting to know the people who keep us safe. Holmdel's strong safety record is one of the primary reasons people choose to live and work here. And I forgot to mention, or forgot to thank, our awesome recreation team that night as well for the great work they did in putting on the event, and obviously the work our public works teams do and everybody else in addition to our first responders. It was the best night I've seen here for National Night Out. The next Goal Zero enforcement campaign is this Saturday, August 15th, all day and evening in the area of Route 34. This midsummer saturation enforcement campaign will be dedicated to the memory of Patty Barrett. Patty Barrett was a New Jersey resident tragically struck and killed while walking south on the shoulder in Chatham Borough. The vehicle that struck her had window tinting on the front windshield, as well as the front and rear driver's side and passenger side windows. This safety campaign honors her memory by focusing on pedestrian safety, visibility, and violations that contribute to serious and fatal crashes. The Holmdel First Aid Squad is now accepting applications for the 2026-27 cadet program. If you're a high schooler looking to make a difference, or you have an interest in learning about emergency medicine, you can join the squad on Wednesday, August 26th at 7 p.m. at our Crawfords Corner Road building for an information session about our cadet program. More information can be found on the squad's website, holmdelfirstaid.com. And that's all I have. And Chris, when we went to the administrator report, you stepped out. Is there anything you want to hit before we go to public comment?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Couple things I just want to go over. We are conducting a budget scrub of our 2026 budget. What that includes is going to be meeting with my department heads and going through each one of their lines to make sure that we're spending money where we need to be spending it, and if we're not spending it in the right spots, or if we can make a savings, we are going to do that. So far, we've gotten through a few items, and one came up that was pretty significant. I'd like to let the committee know this. We will now be saving $20,000 a month by removing certain lines that we no longer use for radios. They're outdated. We don't need them anymore. So that's $20,000 savings for the town, equaling $120,000 for the year. Actually, as of today, we just got our other bill for that. They went up to $52,000 a month. So we lucked out right in the right time. We also found some IT programs that we're going to get rid of. One of them, a couple of them being $8,000 for savings. So we're going to do this line by line through the town to be prepared for our 2027 budget. All right, moving on to my next is that the 2027 health insurance is going to be a problem. Okay, we are going at it the same way we went at it last year. We're very active and in front of it. Currently, we are on the state health plan. So we're going to attack it from three fronts. We have sent a letter to state elected officials in our district, and we pointed out that what the assumptions that this new report came out with is assumptions, and that's all they are, because we can prove that we're not spending what they're saying we're spending on it, because they've raised our plan 50%. So for us to use the same plan next year would be 50% higher. Second way we're going to go about it is we asked for our experience rating once again. We're hoping that our experience rating improved. If it improved, we are going to go out to market among the health insurance funds of New Jersey. They're public insurance funds just like our GIFs. We have never met that yet, but we're hoping that we have some improvement there. And third, if that doesn't work, or if we're going to run it all three. Under all three, we're going to run it also under private insurance plans to see if we can make a savings there and work with the unions to improve on that. So it's going to be a battle, but they don't give us much time. The report just came out, and open enrollment's on October 1st, and we probably won't get the actual pricing till October 1st. They won't give it to us ahead of time. And then finally, Wilson Park update. Wilson Park is started. We have just received all our permits from the Community Development Department. All our demolition permits and construction permits are in for electric and for demolition, and we're going to move forward with that. I know they're starting work They were up there doing some analysis, and I think they're starting by the end of the week to take some buildings down. So.
Great. Thank you, Chris. All right, we'll move on to public comment. Wendy, if you want to do your thing.
In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, this is a public comment period or public comment on any governmental issue of public concern. In accordance with Resolution 2022-17, public commenters are asked to raise their hand and wait to be recognized by the mayor before coming forward and making public comments. Commenters are asked to state their full name and address before commenting. Public commenters are limited to one comment not to exceed 3 minutes. Comments should be directed to the mayor and the township committee. If appropriate, the mayor may direct and recognize a staff employee or professional to respond to comments either at this meeting or in writing after this meeting.
Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Public comment. Jenny.
My first question, Jenny Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. For I don't know how many weeks, we have been all screaming about these utility poles. To date, I have never heard anybody say how tall they are. And you're making a face saying, oh.
I don't know what the exact height of them are. I could find out for you though, Jenny.
Well, I think everybody'd like to know. I've heard 40 feet.
Well,
I've heard 100 feet.
no. There might be there's multiple sizes already in town, so I just don't know what these are, but I could find out for you.
Well, that would be interesting. You
Jenny,
put it on
can
the
you
website.
direct to the
I'm sorry.
Thank you, my dear.
I'm sorry. And then one other question. What's the status of these poor, pathetic streetlights? There's hundreds of them that still don't work. What are we expecting to have happen? Should we all put flashlights in our front yard?
So again, we have to continue to keep auditing them. This happens throughout New Jersey. I am looking into, and I will bring it up to the committee. I wasn't going to do it tonight because I don't have the data yet, but there is companies out there that actually do audits, and I'm looking to possibly get an audit done on ours, because if we get an audit done, they can show where they haven't been working properly and how long they haven't been working properly, and will help us go after JCP&L for refunds on it. So, but I just couldn't get in touch with a company yet to speak to the committee about
I
it.
thought you did an audit with the policeman.
That's
sometime back.
one thing, but this audit would actually locate them and actually say what bulbs are needed in each one. It'll give us every aspect of every one we have. So, and I think by doing that, we can actually track where the problems are and things need to be replaced.
Well, that's good because it's getting dark earlier. I guess.
Thanks, Jenny. Lady in the back sitting down. No, I'm sorry, ma'am. So, be there. Just wait for this young lady first, then you can comment.
Hi, I'm Kenny Pacina, and I'm here to talk on behalf of Oak Hill Farm.
Your address, please?
66 Leonard Avenue in Leonardo. 66 Leonard Avenue in Leonardo. And I'm Kenny Pacina.
Okay.
I said good evening and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight simply as someone who works at Oak Hill Farm, but for someone whose life has been deeply impacted by people, animals, and the community behind it. I'm asking you to look at Oak Hill Farm as more than a business. It is a farm and gathering place, a place where children experience animals and agriculture, where families spend time together, and where people can step away from their screens, go outside, and simply breathe. And I believe it deserves the opportunity to remain part of Holmdel's agricultural future. Gabby was born and raised in Holmdel. This is her home. She and Franco have chosen to invest their time, money, and hard work and future back into the community that raised her. They genuinely want to be a part of Holmdel's agricultural community. They want to learn, contribute, build relationships, and create something meaningful that can remain here for years to come. I know their hearts personally because I experienced their kindness during the darkest period of my life. Within the last 6 months, I lost both my mother and my husband. My husband passed away when our daughter was only 2 months old, and my children were grieving their grandmother. We lost the home that we had shared together with my mother and were forced to move 3 times. I was grieving, raising my children, and trying to figure out how to go about a life that I barely recognized. And during that time, Gabby reached out to me. She didn't need anything from me. She simply wanted to know if I was okay and how she could help. I asked her for a job again. She let me start immediately and even allowed me to bring my baby daughter to work. And somehow what began as a job became part of my healing. At the farm, I could work, I could create, I could laugh, I could be outside, I could care for animals, and I could feel useful again. Oak Hill Farm didn't take away my grief, nothing could, but it gave me somewhere to carry it. And that's why I understand the value of this farm cannot be measured only by a balance sheet. Children can feed animals, pick flowers, get dirt in their hands, and learn where things come from. Families can gather, people can have coffee, take a walk, enjoy nature, and simply have somewhere to go to just breathe. If we want the next generation to care about preserving agriculture, we first have to give them opportunities to experience it. I understand that regulations matter, and I understand that legitimate concerns need to be addressed. But I'm not asking you to ignore them. I'm asking you to work with this family, find reasonable solutions, give Gabby and Franco the opportunity to address concerns, and demonstrate what Oak Hill Farm can become. Because preserving agriculture can not only mean preserving acreage on a map, it also means supporting the people willing to dedicate their lives to keeping agriculture alive. So please see the entire picture. See the family behind this farm, see the employees, see the animals, see the children learning, and see the families gathering. And see people like me who sometimes walk through those gates carrying something incredibly heavy and find somewhere that they can breathe during them. Let children be children, let families gather, let people connect, and let agriculture be something that can actually be lived and experienced in Holmdel. And please give Oak Hill Farm the opportunity to continue growing its roots in the community Gabby has called home her entire life. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and committee. John Green, 7 Burgundy Drive, Holmdel. I've lived here for 19 years and am raising 2 teenagers. I just want to say that many people, including my own family, moved to Holmdel because it is uniquely beautiful and semi-rural. And it's very special because our homes are in close proximity to farms. I think it's one of the reasons why people love Holmdel. I know we do. My family and I have benefited from visiting Oak Hill Farm. It's a beautiful place. I hope you've had a chance to go there. And I think that before its recent shutdown, it's clear that Oak Hill Farms provided our community with access to a place that celebrates nature and animal life. It was designed to attract families, to provide them with an experience that our local parks cannot. I would compel the township leadership and the code's compliance officers to acknowledge the benefit of Oak Hill property to the community, not just for its aesthetic and educational benefits to families, but specifically to families with children. And I would also encourage you to find a compromise solution that would not impose draconian financial penalties on the Oak Hill owners, provided, of course, that they agree to retrofit the property to the standard that is required. As you know, small businesses usually have very small profit margins. So if there are penalties that are 6 figures, it becomes a non-starter for some place like Oak Hill Farms. So it's clear that the township has the discretion to waive or reduce penalties. So I would urge you to work with the owners of Oak Hill Farms on some kind of compromise to keep Oak Hill Farms alive for everybody in Holmdel. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah.
Hello, Sarah Cho, 4 Putnam Court. So I had to look online to see who are the members of the planning board, because I have never been to a planning board meeting, but now I feel like I need to. So it's my understanding that the planning board of Holmdel is made up of you, Rocco Impreveduto, Gary Vanderham, Jim Corrigan, Brendan Connolly, and the Republican candidate TJ Mann, who's also in the room, right there in the green shirt. So
There's others, right? There's other members.
Or elected members? I'm not sure. I actually don't know. I know that there's a lot of other people listed on the website, but the website is a little jumbled, so it's hard to read.
There's several others, but go ahead.
Okay, so are these the 5 individuals who are going to be voting for or against the data center application? Or is it, I would like to understand the process so that, today you voted to ban, for an ordinance to ban future data centers. However, is it true that this ordinance is going to apply to the application that was submitted today, or because the ordinance that was passed today is after the Bell Works contract was drafted up and signed and executed like a decade ago, does this ordinance today to ban data centers apply to this application? So that's my first question. My second question is, of the 5 that I just named, so Mayor Rocco, Gary Vanderham, TJ Mann, who is running for town council in November, Jim Corrigan, and Brendan Connolly, will those 5 be voting for or against the data center? And will that vote be similar to the TC's vote, where if 3 vote yes, then that data center application can go through?
Okay, thank you. So the planning board is comprised of 7 members, 9, did I always get that wrong? It's comprised of 9 members. It'll be a majority vote passes things. So it's more than the 5 mentioned. There are alternates that sit in. There's a mayor's designee that sits in my place. And so we're not going to comment on anything other than that's the process and that's what it is. We addressed earlier whether or not this ordinance applies to Bell Works. Our council thinks it's a gray area. Bell Works disagrees. They have submitted to the planning board, and we'll see where the process plays out. Yes, sir.
Zico Abbas, 9 Northfield Court, Hazlet, New Jersey. Mr. Mayor, I would hate to be you right now. This is a tough job. Can you hear me or no? Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, so one comment, since you could make a recommendation with the planning board, I would highly recommend you get a resident expert on these data centers to be a part of that planning board. I'm sure you guys have someone of such. And then I would recommend to the township attorney here, Mr. Collins, that you could proceed with going to the Supreme Court to stop that ordinance that you were mentioning earlier. I mean, you do have that recourse. I'm sure you do. I'm not sure. I'm not an attorney. But truthfully, I came here for Oak Hill Farms, honestly. I'm good friends with these guys. I'm not a big farm guy. I'm not going to lie to you. Truly, I'm not. But I do love animals. The one thing that I got out of this farm that really kind of saved me, I take their honey, and I've had allergies my entire life. Look, I could breathe. I could really breathe. And it was because of that honey. I'm not lying to you. And I had to beg Amanda here, who's pregnant, to stay over like later for me to go get some honey. So can you guys please do something about this? Stop suing him. Start using some of that money, Mr. Collins, and go after these data center people, because that's the real problem, not the farm.
Any other comment? Yes.
Franco Rousseau, the owner of Oak Hill Farm, 177 Stillwell Road. I'm probably a day late. I probably should have opened a data farm. Would have been easier process, so the kids could probably sleigh ride down Stillwell Road to school at Village School. Probably a safer idea than whatever you guys have come up with so far. But since I'm on a clock and you handle this and handle me like a game show, I think we should make a deal tonight. You could be Monty Hall, so let's make a deal. I take accountability for everything that's happened so far. Fines, whatever the township has spent on Michael's, whatever you want to call it, campaign to fight me. If I lose at the Ag Board, and then at the state level, because I have other recourses, I'm willing to pay all of what was spent to fight me, so that the township and the taxpayers have no burden. But if I win, you should pay it, or Mike should forgive whatever money he's be charging the town to fight me on something that he's dead wrong on. You've already lost the major battle that the property is arguably a farm, but yet you still continue to battle at the Ag Board. Why? What are you going to gain if it's not a farm?
Thanks. So I think that's an interesting statement, and I think it dovetails into a couple things that we talked about this evening. When we talk about data centers and Bellworks going to the planning board, Vonages come up, what it is a transparent process. Whether you like the outcome or not, it's a transparent process, right? So public is notified, the public can respond and react, somebody can make a judgment, and then, you know, a decision is made and we move forward. What's transpired here, and you just said you take accountability for, but specifically you have to take accountability for everything, which is a completely non-transparent process, which is you knew exactly what you were supposed to do and did none of it.
Wrong.
Oh, I don't know, Counselor, am I wrong?
Counselor's already, I don't have my counselor here, so he should wait.
You had your opportunity to speak. I'm not going to speak, but I will say that I think there have been several opportunities for the township to have communicated with the property owner on what was required, and that's been an ongoing iterative process, including recently the property owner inquiring as to remedying the code violations. So there are ongoing communications, even though it may seem as such that there isn't.
Okay, so that said, we advised when you wanted to build these structures, when Oak Hill wanted to build these structures, we advised to go in front of the zoning board. We were told they were going to go in front of the zoning board. They did not. They just started building. They just started building.
I didn't change the use.
The use is what it is.
You're wrong.
We're not going to have back and forth. The legal issue that is identified in the court papers is the lack of a site plan approval. The 2020, the property owner in 2020 went to the zoning board and got a D1 variance, but as part of that D1 variance also got site plan approval. And as the mayor's indicating, by going to the land use board, it provided the neighbors an opportunity to express their concerns, to have those taken into account by that board, and that resolution does in fact contain very specific conditions as to the products that can be sold from the premise, when parking can be on the grass, very detailed things that the zoning board and their expertise placed upon the property. And I think the mayor's point is that that process was circumvented by the lack of an application for an amended site plan. And if the applicant wants to contend that a use variance wasn't required, it certainly could have made application to the planning board for site plan approval without getting a variance.
So the long story short is there was a process, the process wasn't followed, which basically excluded all the neighbors and the residents around impacted by this to not have a voice in the process and what was going on. They woke up, as they came here and said themselves, they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to the sounds of animals. There's a smell that they never had to deal with before because of what this has turned into. Now, we can't make judgments on whether or not we like something. If you woke up tomorrow morning and your neighbor set up a gun range without any approval, would you approve it? Would you not? You have to, it's the same thing. We don't make judgments whether or not we like something. We make judgments whether or not the rules were followed. It's very simple. The rules weren't followed. Electric was run without permits or inspection. Foundations were poured without permits or inspection. These are all things every other resident and every other business owner in Holmdel has to comply with. So the question is, why does everybody else have to follow the rules, but not Oak Hill Farms? So maybe the discretionary determination is donkeys, I guess. Is that what it is? So at the end of the day, the point is simple. If the rules were followed, none of this would have happened. The decision was made not to. And so we have to respond because we cannot as a town be subjective in how these are enforced. It's as simple as that. Everything was perfectly fine with the prior owner. There were no issues. Why is that? Because the rules were followed and everything complied and everything worked. Right? So that's the fundamental difference. Either you apply the rules equally to all, or you don't apply them at all. We have no choice but to enforce what we have, to enforce the ordinance and to move forward, and that's where it goes. So that's how this goes, and that's where we're at. This wasn't something like anybody wanted to do. We were forced for public safety measures to enforce compliance. It's as simple as that.
Sir, please stop shouting out, please.
So
I'm recording. I appreciate it.
So that's ultimately the point. No matter how much PR campaign and fudging of the facts there are, the facts are what they are. If the process was followed, none of this would have happened. The process was known and it was largely ignored. That's why we are where we are. We cannot be subjective in how we apply the rules. Every other resident follows them and is compelled to follow them. We can't make an exception for one just because we might like what it looks like. Young lady in the back. You can come up to the microphone. You have to come up to the microphone.
Excuse me. When you come to the microphone, your name and address, please. Thank you.
Sorry, Glen Angola, 17 Chapman Terrace, Middletown, New Jersey. So you're going to deprive the community from this great experience, from the job opportunities, from the agriculture that it can bring, solely because they didn't follow your rule.
They didn't follow township ordinances, correct? Or zoning or planning.
Okay, so that's not something that can be overlooked?
Should we overlook it for
Because-
everybody?
Because don't you look at the bigger picture?
We can't overlook it for one and not everybody else, though. That's the point I'm making.
But if one is better than the other, if one is providing more than the other, it should be overlooked. Because now
Okay.
you're depriving your community.
I'm not depriving anybody. If it
You're-
stayed the way it was,
Technically, yes, you are.
if it stayed the way it was, there wouldn't be an
Tell me
issue.
another farm that offers what they offer. You can't.
It's immaterial. Yes, sir, in the back.
Chris Robinson, 35 Carriage Gate Drive, Little Silver. I came, of course, for the farm to support Franco and Gabby. But then the data thing came up, and I'm a resident in Little Silver, so I'm not like in direct vicinity of Bell Works, but you yourself said it could possibly be dangerous and it's still new territory, and you have done, and then I come in and I read a whole article about how you're comparing a farm to a gun range, which it was sold to him as a farm. If you had a gun range in Holmdel and you sold somebody a gun range, then you'd say, okay, you woke up and he was fixing his gun. It's a farm, so it's a farm. But the fact that there wasn't a big article telling people how unsafe the data thing is going to be for the people around them, but there was lawyers and time and hours spent to talk about a farm that is, you know, your friend here said it was a farm town to begin with. He was sold a farm, but now there's some shady characters that snuck out right after the discussion of the data thing was over. They snuck all out. Shady to me, I don't mean to insinuate anything about anybody, but there's no concern of that. You're on the board for the, you know, planning board, everything going on, but there was no time or effort put into the safety of the people for what you said was unsafe. I'm just trying to figure out when somebody's going to worry about what's really going on, and what if I don't know what a data whatever is, but AI, it could blow up. I live right down the street. I might be affected, you know, but I'm just saying maybe we should take our time and our lawyers and our money and focus on the safety of me and the communities around Holmdel as well, instead of worrying about kids petting, you know, goats and stuff, you know.
Thank you. Yes, Amber.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Township Committee. I am Ann Bontempo, and I live at 22 Grandview Drive here in Holmdel. I'm standing before you tonight to voice my strong opposition to the proposed $6.5 million forced main sewer line at former Vonage site. While we all agree that decommissioning the old 1977 wastewater plant is necessary, exporting our wastewater completely out of Holmdel via pressurized forced main is environmentally reckless solution. Right now, the New Jersey Coastal Plain Aquifer System, which provides the drinking water for millions of our residents, including us, is facing two critical crises: severe groundwater drawdown and rapid saltwater intrusion. If you don't know what that is, I will explain it. Historically, on-site wastewater systems act as a closed loop. They clean the water and return it directly into the ground, naturally filtering it and recharging our local aquifers. Mr. Mayor, are you looking around the room or not at me? Okay. This forced main cycle is shattered when you disrupt that. It will pump an estimated 45,000 gallons of water per day entirely away from our town. That means we are permanently exporting over 6 million gallons of fresh water out of our local watershed every single year, dumping it into regional treatment lines and pumping it straight into the Atlantic Ocean. When you drain millions of gallons from the water table, you cause catastrophic regional drawdown. This overpumping has already dropped underground water pressure across Monmouth County, forcing the state to declare critical water restriction areas. We are currently in them. Even worse is our inland freshwater level plummets. The natural pressure holding back the ocean fails, so we don't have enough counter pressure to the ocean in our aquifers. This allows dense salt water from the Raritan Bay and Atlantic Ocean to migrate inland. The saltwater intrusion is actively ruining public and private drinking wells right now along northern Monmouth Shore. By cutting off millions of gallons of groundwater recharge here in Holmdel, which you will do with the forced main, we are weakening the hydraulic barrier that protects our own regional water supply. Furthermore, bringing a public sewer main into southern Holmdel sets a dangerous precedent. Our town has historically used low-density septic requirements to protect our vulnerable watersheds. We all know that sewers act as a catalyst for overdevelopment. Paving our southern Holmdel with roofs and rooftops will permanently block rainwater from refilling our aquifers while boosting polluted runoff into a Category 1 Willowbrook. Finally, because forced mains operate under an intense pump pressure, any pipe rupture or powerful risks to forcing raw sewage plumes directly into our shallow aquifers, threatening immediate contamination. The water pumped out of the Vonage site today is the drinking water of our community that relies on it tomorrow. I strongly urge this committee to halt the advancement of the forced water main sewer line and commission an independent, comprehensive hydraulic impact study. We must prioritize advanced on-site groundwater recharge technologies that keep water in Holmdel, protect our coastal plain aquifer,
Thank
and
you.
stop the advancement
Thank
of
you. You can
saltwater
email the rest.
intrusion.
Thank you. You can email the rest. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Michaela Milano from Tinton Falls. I'm here for Oak Hill Farms. Gab and Franco are very, very good friends, so I am obviously a little bit biased, but I do also have a logical brain in my head. And I just kind of find it funny that you're talking about following procedures, doing everything correct. There's rules for a reason, and having, many years in construction experience, I fully understand that. But we were also up here tonight talking about a program that the town implements for leniency days. So you fully acknowledge that people do things without permits all the time. Things are done like this, and you have things in place to alleviate fines and help people do things the right way. If the goal is ultimately to do things the right way, we are where we are today. Oak Hill Farms did things, the town did things, the present is now, and if the goal is, like you said, with the leniency days, to get everything up to code, to make sure things are proper and not punish people for that, then just move forward and work together to do that the same way you would if it was a resident in your leniency day.
Thank you. Anybody else public comment? Yes, sir.
Hi, Mayor, committee member Chris. This is not about the farm. This is about the public.
Sir, your name and address, please.
My name
Thank
is
you.
Yan Zen, 17 Tiburon Drive. This is about a public drainage easement, and there's an easement for the drainage storm water in my neighborhood, and it's used for drainage water from the public street like Tiburon Drive and the White Cedar. And it's on my backyard neighbor's property, and there's an easement. So water goes into that easement and start running on the surface, and before they hit the stream. And in March 2023, I noticed that the water channel has changed and start directing the water onto my property and start washing away my land. So I contacted the township engineer department. The engineer showed up in on that property, and they identify another section of the pipe which is owned by Township Pipe, that including a shark cage, was totally unmaintained. So that caused the water channel to redirect the directions. So in 2024, when the previous administrator who worked in the township, and he was trying to declare an emergency fix for this, and he ended up cutting down a tall tree, which is uprooted by the erosion, and this last month there's another tall tree because of the wash away soil, the uprooted tree. The tree has fallen onto my property. So I contact Township again, and Chris is trying to help to devise a emergency fix, or at least a stabilization plan for that. But I was told, I've been working with the Township for past 3 years with 3 different administrators, including an interim administrator. All the administrators told me that this is a public owned facility, and the Township is responsible for fixing that. But last month, when this happens, I was told that this is not. The Township is looking to determine whether this falls onto the Township or falls onto the property owner's responsibility to fix this. So I have a question for the Township, for the committee. Is after 3 years, and this problem is getting bigger and bigger. And my question is, first of all, this easement is used for the municipal storm drain, and how and why is not the responsibility for the municipal to keep it fixed? And second is, it's been 3 years, and the problem is getting bigger and bigger, and it's not getting any better.
Understand. Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Gentleman in the back. Come up to the microphone.
To the gentleman before, I just checked with the mayor. We do want to mention that we're aware of the matter you just brought to our attention at the podium. It was a topic in tonight's executive session, so it is under review. We discussed it before the meeting in closed session.
Hello, my name is Nicholas.
Just name and address, sir.
Nicholas DeCalabas, and 242 East Blackwell in Dover, New Jersey. So I just want to say real quick, I'm an Air Force veteran. I'm a career fireman in Short Hills, New Jersey, and there's about 500 veterans in Holmdel. I'm not one of them, but I'm here to represent at least New Jersey that could visit this farm. And I've seen the farm once, and I just want to say, like, I'm supporting you guys, and I'm here. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Anybody else? Public comment? Peter. That was a half raise.
Pete Franco, 5 Hopbrook Lane. Are there any other situations in town that people are using their properties as farms when they're not supposed to be that you are aware of? Is the same thing going on with anybody else in town? Also, the eminent domain of that Coles property, I just want to say, like, I've been against it since day one. I still think the property on Beer Street is the perfect place to put our entire affordable housing obligation, close to mass transit, close to shops and stores, across the street from a hospital, on city water, on city septic. I'm sorry, city sewer. Because I mean, blatantly, if you look at the property now, I mean, they're blatantly misusing the property. There's tractor trailers parked all over it. There's trucking companies that are using it. There's landscaping companies that are using it. There's cars parked in the greenhouses. This is the first time, I think, in probably 6 years I've actually seen something growing on that property. Has zoning gone after them like they're going after Franco over here? And it's just an observation when I drive down Beer Street on a daily basis. What else? Where was I? Oh yeah, and as far as the force main that was brought up, has it been approved that Bellworks is going to let us tie into it, into their sewer system? To
and where we are on that, Mike?
I could answer it. I just didn't
want
Oh, and if we deny them of a data center, are there going to be repercussions, and are they going to deny you access to their sewer? So is there leverage there? Are we going to be held hostage? So are we forced to give them what they want to get what essentially you guys want? That's all I got.
Sure. So to the question of leverage, I'm going to say no, because if that doesn't work, there's an alternative. But Chris, go ahead.
That was only a idea. That's not our main location where we plan on tying in. That was just an idea that came out. We have many other places we can tie in that has nothing to do with Bellworks whatsoever, that is owned by the township.
So no, we can't be held hostage. Any other public comment? And no, there's no other areas in town I'm aware of people acting as if they're on a farm.
Yeah.
No animals, no horses.
None that I'm aware
I don't think
of.
we're in a position to speak to any zoning violations that have been issued. You could certainly file an OPA request to see what's out there. No, actually, I would like to clarify that the zoning officer issues zoning violations, and those are, subject to enforcement in municipal court. They come to the township committee when there's no compliance through the zoning officer process.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Amanda Holder. I live on 9 Truman Place in Hazlet, New Jersey. I am the general manager of Oak Hill Farm. I can go on and on about how much Oak Hill Farm means to our community and to me personally, but tonight I want to talk about the history of the property and the township's own record. In February 2020, Holmdel Environmental Commission agenda regarding Oak Hill Farms specifically wrote that the applicant has been using the property as a farm and as in right to the R40B zone and will continue to do so. That same document described it as a family-owned and operated, multifaceted agriculture business with an emphasis on farming and community outreach. In March 2020, the Holmdel Zoning Board again stated the applicant will continue to use this property as a farm. This isn't simply our interpretation. You said it. It's in writing. The Farmland Preservation Plan also identified 177 Stillwell Road as a farmland assessed, with more than 5 acres categorized as cropland harvested. Sorry, I hate talking in front of people, and I'm pregnant, obviously. I'm there every day. I see what happens behind the gates. The animals are cared for 7 days a week. We grow crops, flowers, herbs. We maintain the land, and we employ people whose jobs are directly tied to agriculture and animal care. Members of the township boards have recently visited Oak Hill. Whether they're reluctant to say it or not, it's beautiful, it doesn't smell, it's the nicest farm anywhere around here. During the really short time that we were open, families came to see the animals, learn about agriculture, purchase local products, and simply spend time together on a farm in their community for free. There is an important distinction between regulating certain activities or capacities on a farm and questioning whether the underlying agriculture operation is legitimate at all. Your records called this property a farm. He bought it as a farm. This property was recognized as a farmland. We're not asking the township to ignore its rules. We're asking for a reasonable path forward that recognizes the agriculture use of this property and of this land. It also recognizes why Franco made decisions believing he was operating as a farm. Your township records say he bought a farm. We want the opportunity to address the legitimate concerns of this community and continue to serve this community as a farm. Thank you.
Anybody else public comment? Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Hi, my name is Jackie Tramarco. I live in Lincroft. My husband and myself moved here 1 year ago from New York, like many others have. We followed our children to be there for our grandchildren. In 1 year, my taxes have raised over $5,000. Now I want to talk about the farm. We went there. Have you ever been there? Have any of you ever been inside the farm?
No.
Okay. Well, you're missing out. Because number one, it's very clean. The animals are friendly and trained to be around children. I have a double knee replacement, and they have sidewalks to walk on. I'm not on uneven ground when I'm walking to see the animals, and I went through the entire farm because we were going to have my granddaughter's first birthday there, but you closed it down. So we had to cancel it. So yes, I'm an angry grandmother. I am frustrated, but I also want to put out there that it's a beautiful place to go to. I have 4 children. I have 3. Now I will have 4 grandchildren at the end of this month. It was free. Do you understand? I went with 13 people, and it was free. My taxes are going through the roof, but yet I went to a beautiful farm that I didn't have to pay a dime to go into. There is so much going on in this world. How do you close down a farm that is giving so much love and joy to an entire community? And I live in the next community, okay? It's bringing so much fun and peace, which is what people need. I don't understand. I said what I had to say. I think you need to all go visit there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, Matt, let's go. At least your footwear is appropriate for the season.
I know, right? It finally makes sense, though most things don't. 10 Riverside Lane, Holmdel, New Jersey. Nice to see you all. My wife dropped me off, so I am going to need a ride later, but that's besides the point. Nonetheless, guys, really quick, I wanted to thank the community for an amazing Sip and See event with CELU. We appreciate you guys coming out and everything else with that. Talk about the community and all other fun stuff with it. Actually, I wasn't even really thinking about coming up tonight. I always say that, but then something happens. I had to clarify something because I want to know if Mr. Franco's getting something. There's so many Francos now. I want to make sure of something, eminent domain. He said eminent domain. Now, a while back, I came up and I was like, oh, eminent domain. You guys are like, no eminent domain. Now he's saying eminent domain on the Coles property. That's why I wanted to clarify if that's actually a thing yet, or it's just because to my opinion, and guys, I'm going back to what the stuff that I asked and said a few months ago when I was like, holy crap, is that happening? The value of the property, and I made comments, but you guys said there isn't eminent domain, so I kind of just wanted to clarify that guy, because again, the other Franco, there's so many Francos, he was saying eminent domain, so I wanted to see, like, did we do that?
I don't recall saying it wouldn't be eminent domain, Matt, but let Mike answer the legality around it.
Oh, and just to throw out the other stuff, big congratulations to Joe Romano for closing on that crazy, like, massive hospital deal in New York and all that fun stuff. By the way, I do like, yeah! By the way, I actually do like it better when it's the dialogue, but I wanted to, you know. And to throw out there again, I think I'm going to make my thing kind of like, you know, you got some of the guys that come here every month. I'm going to be like, when we get JCP&L and those other polls, because it's going to look a lot nicer when we get rid of those suckers over there. So just a little reminder on that. The other thing I want to throw out there, just because, again, I did get here late. I chimed in when I heard that Mr. Mann's wearing a green shirt. I have a shirt like that. It looks fantastic. I'm a fan. Nonetheless, though, data centers, you know, I don't even know what the vote was. Bottom line is, I know we're going tough on it. It sounds like it's a gray area on the Bell Works thing. If it is a gray area and we are stuck, well, I'll tell you what, let's put their feet to the fire. Why not? If we're stuck, let's light it up. And I say it with love. I like the owner. I'm still a fan of Bell Works, of that specific thing. I don't think I like this 2013 language, but then again, what the heck do you guys know? You're adopting all this crap, and it's all your fault, even though it happened a decade ago. But if we're really stuck, oh man, I don't know, can we get a new school out of this? Huh? What do you think? I'm just saying, if we're really stuck, let's leverage the crap out of JCP&L, out of, you know, I'm going to stop there. I'll let it go. We got some time there. Anyway, guys, thank you very much, Matt Weisfeld. And again, I am going to need a ride home.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, there was never a past discussion about the Coles property not being subject to eminent domain.
The property behind Coles.
The property behind Coles, yes. Thank you for clarifying, Mayor. That was a component of the fourth round plan back when it was approved in March.
The discussion is around what fair market value is for that action, correct?
Yes, and the township conducted an appraisal, and its position is that the appraisal represents the fair market value.
And intent, just for everyone, just as a reminder, everyone, is to reduce the number of approved units from 170 to 80. So we wanted to cut that number of domiciles more than in half. Any other public comment? Seeing none?
None.
Ah, I thought I had none. Gentleman in the back with the gray hair. Yes. Well, there was a guy with dark hair in front of you. I had to differentiate.
Hi, Mike Daniele, 872A Holmdel Road. Just to gear back a little bit, hard to follow that up. But going to school, this is going to be the last meeting before we go back to school. Couple of things. Hopefully you're thinking about a couple of Plan Bs. I agree with Chris. The buses went, they were empty. So in this town, the people are just going to say, you're not walking, I'm driving you. The traffic was horrendous before they did the work project. The work project really didn't fix too much. All I'm saying is hopefully you're thinking about maybe staggering the times of the two schools a half an hour. Both signs we've all sat at the stop sign right here, waiting for the person to use their blinker. Just a simple, stupid thing like use your blinker. Both signs, the one going south is completely covered by branches. You can't see it. I know it's a county road. The one going north is pretty much covered by trees. You can't see that one either. Okay? They could write 200 to 300 tickets a day there. Talk about bringing money into the town. If you want to put a sign up there, but if everybody used their blinkers, okay, there wouldn't be a mess there. There's going to be a problem with the road coming off the parkway. All I'm saying is, I hope you're thinking about a Plan B. There's no other meetings between now and when school starts. It is going to be a disaster. And now you're going to have kids crossing at the crosswalk, and people are like, man, I've waited in this line long enough. I'm going to blow this yellow. It's going to be a mess. All I'm saying is to just try to have some Plan Bs set in place.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Nate? Give me 1 sec. This gentleman here. You good? All right, Nate, go ahead.
Nate Brown, 251 South Holland Road. I was going to address it earlier about the streetlights on South Holland. You know, and I know that we were talking about sidewalks earlier, and we have to shovel our own sidewalks. But you know, the sidewalks on South Holland, as you can know, is on the separate side of where all the houses are at. So someone's going to be out there shoveling that whole entire road, sidewalk in the morning, and I'm assuming you have to fix the sidewalks where it's got this gaps, because the shovel isn't going to work on that. Okay, and then the road lights. You know, there's not a single light on the whole road, and obviously there's times of the year where kids get out of school and it's about to get dark in the morning. There's times of the year where it's dark. That's got to be thought about in this whole plan. The second thing is, in regards to the traffic, you know, that this is gonna be crazy, because I'm telling you, I watch it. I live at the corner of Telegraph Hill and South Holland. The traffic is backed up around the stop sign, all the way up South Holland Road, around the stop sign to Telegraph Hill. What's that gonna look like? Like, is it gonna go down to Bethany Road? Like, this is insane. Like, but you know, and I also wanted to address one more thing, and I'll sit down and let you comment. But is it? I had heard this, and I don't know a fact behind it, but the PNC Bank Art Center exit from the Parkway is not supposed to be used for public use outside of PNC. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, I don't know, but I'm going to address it because I've gotten 2 accidents in 1 year by picking my kids up from daycare. Because I come around the corner to get on Crawford's Corner Road, and before I can even look, like, the car is 5 feet in front of me. I hit him. I wasn't going fast, so it didn't do a lot of damage, but I got in accidents. I had my 2 kids in the car, both times. That's dangerous. And to the blinker side, they don't use blinkers, but there's so much traffic using that. And again, I don't know if it's allowed or not. I've heard that it's not allowed. If it's allowed, that people are using it. If they're going to get away with it, I don't blame them for using it. But if it's not allowed, then it should be enforced.
Thank you, Nate. And so, on that note, just to address, 'cause it came up a little bit earlier, I think when Francine spoke, there's been a lot of analysis around that exit. When I was a kid here, you'd get a ticket for taking that exit. It's toll evasion, right? Like, that's the fact. Somewhere along the way, the Parkway has stopped enforcing that exit. Now what we have are 5,000 cars every day going from the Parkway to Crawford's Corner Road and Crawford's Corner Road to the Parkway. Okay? So we only have 6,500 homes in town. So that's not all Holmdel. We've become a pass-through. So in the heart of our town, where our three major public safety hubs are, police, fire, and EMS, we have 5,000 cars congesting that area after we put $4.5 million into redoing that whole area. Mike, to your point about the start times at the schools, to address the choke point there. So there have been discussions with the Turnpike Authority. They recognized the public safety issue that was there, and they proposed a fix to it that would still allow for the use of the commuter lot, but that would gate effectively the pass-through from Crawford's Corner to the Parkway. We have to follow up with discussions on them. They proposed a plan in January, and it's gone quiet since the change in administration. So we don't know where they stand right now, but it was their assessment last year and the year before, actually, when this first came up, that it's a public safety threat for us and that they should act on it. So I couldn't agree more. I don't like the thought of our town being a pass-through for all the neighboring towns to get where they got to go. There's plenty of other exits to use. So it's something that we're actively attentive with, and we're re-engaging to see where these guys are at and what can be done. I'm telling you, they used to ticket us if we used it when I was a kid. Like, it just, it was 30 years ago, but. So, sorry, so that was that issue. Nate, I apologize, I think I forgot the rest. You talked the sidewalks, we're gonna fix the sidewalks and the lights, so we're working on that stuff. Any other public comment? Yes, sir?
Hey guys, my name is Daniel Morgan. I'm from Aberdeen, New Jersey, 12 Walmart Lane, Aberdeen, New Jersey. I'm not from Holmdel, but I was born and raised in the Holmdel UCC, right across the street from the old Vonage and Bell Works, so I'm very familiar with the area as well. Listen, about the farm, my question is pretty simple. I understand that there's rules and regulations that need to be followed to open anything. I completely understand that, and I understand maybe certain things were missed. But I guess for you guys, my question is simple. If you know this many people of your community love it, need it, enjoy it, moms, children, if you know that there's this many people supporting it, and I understand there are people not, but I think this room shows that there are a lot more supporting it maybe than don't. So why would we not work together for a solution? Why does this now all of a sudden seem personal? I guess I just don't understand why, as people that are leading this community, why would you not try to help? Why would you not try to get involved and come up with some middle ground? Can we not get somebody over there to inspect tomorrow and move on? I understand things are in litigation, but at this point, it seems like there's a standoff unnecessarily. It seems like it's something personal unnecessarily. And that's what I don't understand. This many people, you have a mom up here, you have another pregnant lady here, you have another mom in the back, literally with child in hand, talking about how many times they've come to the farm, and it seems like you just don't want to help. Why?
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.